Chapter 1780. Lin Guo left the hotel and went straight to the hospital. After Wan Shao betrayed and left, he had been hiding in Southeast Asia. Therefore, Lin Guo believed that the information he had was definitely related to Wan Shao. Lin Guo was quite sure of this. As long as he could confirm that the person's identity was Red Eagle, this matter could be concluded. Before Lin Guo left the hotel, he secretly took a picture of the deceased at the scene. Although Lin Guo knew that Wan Shao wouldn't reject him if he wanted to take a picture, he didn't want others to gossip. Therefore, he secretly took a picture so that Wan Shao could see the person's appearance clearly. Lin Guo came to Wan Zhao's ward. Wan Shao was also upset because of this sudden incident. Although Su Yun didn't suspect him anymore, he knew that this matter was caused by him. No matter what, it was definitely related to him. Seeing that Lin Guo came, Wan Shao knew that he must have something to talk to him about. He didn't speak and looked up, waiting for Lin Guo to speak. Lin Guo opened the photo album on his phone and found the picture. He threw the phone directly on Wan Zhao's bed. "Look at this person. Do you know him? Look carefully." Wan Shao picked up the phone and was stunned when he saw the hair color. He could obviously determine the person's identity at a glance. Red Eagle. "It seems that I guessed right." Lin Guo went forward and took his phone. "You caused a lot of trouble when you were outside, right? Otherwise, why would people chase you all the way to the country? What's the situation with Red Eagle? Do you want to tell me?" Wan Shao was very surprised. The picture showed that Red Eagle was obviously dead. This probably had nothing to do with him, right? In his current state, even if an enemy came, he could only be dealt with by the other party. "Come, let me explain it to you first." Lin Guo said, "My brother said that you found a monitor in your room. This kind of transparent monitor can only receive signals 500 meters away. Within 500 meters of the hospital, there is only one hotel. And this mercenary, Red Hawk, died tragically in this hotel." Wan Zhao's eyes widened in surprise. He felt a stabbing pain in his head, as if there was something he wanted to remember but couldn't. That feeling made him feel uncomfortable from head to toe. If I'm not mistaken, the person who killed him must have heard the conversation in this room. And the content of this conversation is about Guagua's identity and Pa Bo Yu. Lin Guo said, "Other than Hong Ying, who else can you think of?" "Vulture. It's Vulture." Wan Shao suddenly hugged his head tightly with both hands. The excruciating pain in his head made him tremble all over. But under the excruciating pain, a steady stream of memories flashed through his mind. A scene appeared in his mind. He was in the hospital that night when he suddenly woke up and saw Vulture. That was right. It must be Vulture. Vulture must have come to the hospital and done something to make him lose the memory of that night. Vulture came to the hospital. He must have done something. Wan Shao pressed hard on his temples with his thumb, enduring the intense pain as he said, "He must have done something to me. It must be him. Damn it, it must be him." Whether it's him or not, there's already a very clear conclusion. Lin Guo said, "The person who would kill Red Hawk must be someone familiar with him. And this person's motive for killing him is to not share the secret. Wan Shao, my brother originally didn't want me to participate in this matter. I just received a call from him to Suong and found out about the entire matter. The more people know about this, the more unsafe it will be." Wan Shao struggled to sit up. "What do you need me to do in order to provide you with sufficient help? I beg you, Pigeon, let me do something." "What else can you do?" Lin Guo said helplessly, "Wan Shao, if you can really be a meat shield for death, I won't stop you. Unfortunately, you can't even do that now. You can only sit on this bed. I came to find you to confirm the identity of the opponent. You can only help boss on this point. Vulture was the leader of an armed mercenary organization I met when I first arrived in Southeast Asia. He was ruthless, determined, and ambitious. Later, because we had some differences in opinion, I left his organization. At that time, he didn't want me to leave, so he killed me." Wan Shao said, "But he couldn't let me die in his hands. Later, I had my own armed organization. I also started to be a mercenary, doing things for money." Lin Gu frowned. No wonder Wen Zhao's murderous aura had been so serious for so many years. It turned out that he had become a mercenary. It was normal for his murderous aura to be so serious after facing war and death every day. Later, Vulture and I became the biggest competitors, but I was able to beat him every time. Over time, his unshakable position in Southeast Asia fell. Wen Zhao said, later, he couldn't survive in Southeast Asia, so he left and went to the Middle East to beg for food. There were many wars in the Middle East. Lin Gu was silent for a while. Then why can he still keep an eye on you now? Maybe he never planned to let me go. Wen Zhao said, I just didn't expect him to know such an important secret. Pigeon, has boss gone to Suong now? Can you take me there? I really can't stay here anymore. I really can't take it anymore. Take you there? What kind of joke are you making? What can you do if you go? Drag us down? Lin Gu said, my brother won't let you participate in this matter. Wen Zhao, let me tell you for you, how much we have sacrificed. You know it in your heart. If you are not worth saving, then don't blame me for doing something behind your back. I'm not as kind as my brother. He's from the Dragon Brigade. You're from the Dragon Brigade, but I'm not. Don't forget what I do. Wen Zhao sneered. If you want to kill me, you can do it at any time. I've really suffered enough of the sacrifices you have made for me. I'm not worth it. It's good that you have this awareness. Lin Gu said, whether you're worth it or not, now that things have developed to this point. If we don't save you, who's half dead, then everything we've sacrificed is not worth it. Wen Zhao shook his head helplessly. He really couldn't do anything to help. This feeling was even worse than death. The biggest help you can give is to stop making my brother worry about you, Lin Gu said. After you recover, you should think about what you want to do. Take your life more seriously. Don't feel that it's better to die. Your life now doesn't belong to you. Wen Zhao nodded. He understood. He understood all these things, but he felt terrible. Pigeon, are you going to Suong to help boss? Of course I can't go. Lin Gu said, who knows if Vulture is already on his way back. If he captures you and uses you as a shield, we won't be able to do anything. Don't worry. I believe that no one can stop my brother from doing what he wants to do. Immediately summarize Vulture's appearance, personality, and habits. These things will be useful to my brother. Okay. Wen Zhao nodded vigorously. If he could help Su Yun with anything he could do, he would definitely not disappoint everyone. Chapter 1781. Wen Zhao knew everything about Vulture very well. Vulture was very ambitious. He wanted a lot and wanted a lot. The reason why Vulture hated Wen Zhao so much was that Wen Zhao could get the power that he couldn't. As mentioned before, not everyone's inner demons could be unleashed. Vulture was one of those people who couldn't unleash his inner demons because he was an evil person. Therefore, his inner demons weren't suppressed. Without suppression, they wouldn't be unleashed. Therefore, Vulture couldn't use the power of his inner demons, which was very annoying and regrettable for him. Therefore, he would definitely not give up on this opportunity to increase his strength. He would use any means necessary to obtain the most difficult opportunity in his life. As long as he seized this opportunity, he would be able to get all the power he wanted. Even if Red Eagle had always been his right-hand man and the person he trusted the most, he wouldn't hesitate to kill him because he couldn't share this opportunity with anyone else. According to Wen Zhao's understanding, Red Eagle was definitely a very vigilant person because they had fought more than once. Therefore, Red Eagle wouldn't easily show his back to someone he didn't trust. Red Eagle died from a sneak attack from behind, so it must be someone he trusted who did it to him. In this world, Vulture was probably the only person Red Eagle trusted. All the signs could completely prove that the murderer was Vulture. What happened in Suong was definitely Vulture's doing. Vulture wouldn't let the opportunity he seized slip away so easily. Therefore, if this matter is related to Vulture, it basically proves that Guagua is safe. Wen Zhao analyzed, Vulture is a careful person. If he succeeded, he would definitely clean up the scene. It's impossible for him to leave such a big loophole and even provoke the police. Looking at the current situation, Vulture definitely didn't have the mood to clean up the scene because he didn't get what he wanted. Therefore, he couldn't let himself think about other things. This is the only reasonable explanation. Moreover, if he didn't succeed and hurt someone, it's very likely that he caught the person but didn't get what he wanted. Wan Shao and Vulture had fought for so many years that he naturally knew him like the back of his hand. His deduction was definitely worth referencing. Lin Gu sorted out all the useful information and sent it all to Su Yun's mobile phone. He believed that Su Yun would be able to help him after seeing this information. As for why he didn't call, it was because Lin Gu knew that Su Yun must be rushing to Suong as fast as possible. Any distraction on the highway could cause some unnecessary accidents. Even if Su Yun was an experienced driver and had godlike driving skills, he couldn't avoid the existence of danger. It was just like those F1 racers. Any one of them could run a lap in Beijing's Second Ring Road in 10 minutes, but there were still accidents on the track. Why? Because it was fast. As long as it was fast, it was very likely that it would go out of control. Su Yun really didn't have the time to look at his phone now. He was focused on rushing to Suong. It wouldn't be too late to wait until he reached his destination. Along the way, Su Yun stepped on the accelerator almost to the bottom. Of course, when there were many cars on the road, he had to slow down. Even if it wasn't for his own safety, he had to consider the safety of the people in the other cars. Even so, Su Yun still used less than 5 hours to reach Suong. His speed was not inferior to Vulture's speed at all. In fact, he was an entire hour faster. Su Yun didn't know the exact location of the Feng family cemetery. He didn't hesitate and went straight to the Suong police station. The police station never lacked people with power and influence to do things. However, no matter how good the car was, it had to stop at the entrance and register before entering the compound. Su Yun couldn't care less about that. With a drift, she drove the car into the police station's courtyard. The guard on duty at the entrance was almost dumbfounded. However, he still quickly ran to Su Yun's car. He wanted to ask who this guy was and how he could be so arrogant. Su Yun opened the car door and got out with the recommendation letter written by Chen Wei. He said to the guard on duty, "Where is your chief? Call him out." "Who do you think you are?" The guard on the other side glared at him. "Do you know where this is?" "A police station. Is this a place where you can come in whenever you want?" "Do you know the rules?" "Register at the entrance. Don't talk nonsense. Drive your car out and register it again before you come in. Don't waste my time. I'm here for a big case. If you don't want to lose your job because of wasting my time, go find someone right now." Su Yun glared at him and threw the recommendation letter in his hand to the guard in front of him. "Take this letter to your chief." The guard on duty was a little dumbfounded. He looked at Su Yun, who was quite young. Then, he looked at the black Cayenne he was driving. Then, he looked at the letter and the seal of the Qingdao police station. Then, he looked at Su Yun's gloomy face. Without hesitation, he took the letter and went to the chief. It seemed that this young man had a big background. Soon, Du Yufeng, the chief of the Suong police station, saw the letter and quickly called the Qingdao police station to confirm it. Chen Wei personally explained the seriousness of the matter on the phone. He also told Du Yufeng that Su Yun was a person with a special identity, and asked him to cooperate with him as much as possible. When Du Yufeng asked about Su Yun's identity, Chen Wei gave a perfunctory answer. Chen Wei couldn't tell anyone about Su Yun's identity. It was good that he knew about this matter. Anyway, as long as Du Yufeng trusted Su Yun, it would be fine. If he said too much, Du Yufeng would not take Su Yun seriously. The more mysterious Su Yun's identity was, the more Du Yufeng paid attention to it. After hanging up the phone, he quickly went downstairs to meet Su Yun. Hello. Su Yun, right? Ha ha ha, Chief Chen told me. I'm Du Yufeng from Suong. Quick, come to my office and have a cup of tea. We can talk about the details slowly. Chief Du, 5 hours ago, I was still in Qingdao. Su Yun pointed at his watch. His meaning was very clear. Normally, it would take at least 8 hours to drive from Qingdao to Suong. He rushed over in 5 hours, which meant that it was extremely urgent. The fire was burning his eyebrows. Yes, that's too hard. Du Yufeng thought to himself. You're speeding too much. You can even be arrested and sentenced for this. Speeding is also a threat to social safety. I don't have time to drink tea. Chief Du, I don't have time to listen to you talk slowly. Su Yun, now, I just need you to take me to the cemetery area where the Feng family cemetery is. I don't have time to do anything else. Chief Du smiled awkwardly. Yes, I understand that you are anxious, but you should at least drink some water. Su Yun ignored Du Yufeng's polite words and opened the car door directly. Chief Du, please. I'll drive. We'll go now. I have. Du Yufeng was stunned. But after thinking about it, Chen Wei said that his identity was special, so he decided to cooperate. Then we'll go now. I'll put down the things in my hands first. We'll go now. I'll show you the way. After that, Du Yufeng directly got into Su Yun's car. He would call other people in charge in the car. Chapter 1782. Du Yufeng wanted to get closer to Su Yun in the car and ask him about his situation. After all, working with someone whose identity he didn't know would make him feel pressured. However, Du Yufeng couldn't determine Su Yun's situation based on Chen Wei's explanation. Xiao Su, haha, you don't mind me calling you that, right? Du Yufeng asked tentatively. Su Yun nodded and signaled him to do whatever he wanted. Director Du, is there a shortcut? No, there isn't. That cemetery is the best cemetery in Suong. The feng shui is good, so you have to take the national highway. After passing through a reservoir, there is a small path that can be taken. However, that small path is not as smooth as the main road, and it will be faster. Du Yufeng explained, I will show you the path, and I guarantee that it will be the most efficient one. Su Yun didn't say anything else and continued driving. There were many cars and people on the national highway. Pedestrians didn't pay attention to the traffic laws and regulations, which often caused serious traffic problems on the national highway. Therefore, Su Yun was very careful when driving on the national highway. In fact, regarding the traffic safety law, not only should the punishment for motor vehicle violations be increased, the punishment for non-motor vehicle violations and pedestrian violations should also be increased. For example, if you were caught running a red light, you would have to go to jail for a week. For example, if an old man drove an electric scooter on the road, his car would be confiscated and destroyed on the spot. Although the punishment wasn't severe, it could definitely prevent non-motor vehicles and pedestrians from ignoring the traffic problems. Du Yufeng saw that Su Yun didn't say anything, so he was silent for a while. After passing a crowded intersection, he asked tentatively, Xiao Su, how old are you this year? Do you have a girlfriend? Ha ha ha, I see that you are a talented young man. There must be many girls chasing after you. Director Du, you are joking. Su Yun only cared about rushing, so he could only brush him off. So, you don't have a girlfriend? Then let me introduce you to one. She is definitely a good girl. She is beautiful, well off, and is a civil servant. How about it? Are you interested? Du Yufeng laughed. Xiao Su, which department do you work in? Su Yun was not stupid. Of course, he could tell that Du Yufeng was trying to get information out of him. He was too lazy to expose him, so he casually said, I'm an individual. Working alone. Du Yufeng was stunned. What kind of joke was this? Would the head of the Qingdao police station allow an incompetent person to help him solve a case? No, it should be said that she wanted him to help a young man solve a case. Ha ha ha, little Su, you really know how to joke. Du Yufeng grinned. Alright, I understand even if you don't say it. The nature of the job requires confidentiality. Ha ha, actually, we are all colleagues on the same front line. There's no need to keep it a secret. When I called Chief Chen just now, he already said it. Su Yun didn't believe that Chen Wei would say such nonsense. Since Chief Chen said so, then Chief Du should understand my situation. Yes, I understand. Although Du Yufeng was confused and didn't know anything, he had to continue the conversation. There aren't many young and promising people like you. I'm too optimistic about you. Su Yun didn't pay attention to Du Yufeng's words anymore. The gap between Du Yufeng and Chen Wei was too big. In the face of such a difficult problem, Chief Du didn't seem to be anxious at all. He was muddle-headed. Su Yun understood his mentality very well. Anyway, the problem didn't happen to him. He could just fool around. There was no need to be so serious. Director Du's mentality was like this. Work matters were the same as the world of sensual pleasures, so why take it seriously? If he took it seriously, then he would lose. He had only been an official for more than 10 years. If he still had to worry about it in these 10 years, what was the point of his life? Du Yufeng kept nagging. Su Yun only responded to him with nods and Soon, Du Yufeng felt bored. Fortunately, they finally arrived at the cemetery area. After parking the car, Du Yufeng greeted the criminal police who were investigating the scene. Seeing that Chief Du came in person, everyone came forward to greet him and report their work. Du Yufeng obviously didn't have much interest in the things here. He waved his hand and pointed to Su Yun. This is the person sent by the Qingdao police to assist you in the investigation of this case. You must cooperate fully. I won't say anything else. By the way, is there a spare car? Send me back. I have something important to deal with. Perhaps because Su Yun ignored him on the way, Du Yufeng was a little annoyed. So, when he arrived at the cemetery, he didn't even want to go to the scene. He was ready to leave. Yes, there is a car. When will you leave, Chief Du? I'll send you back immediately. Immediately, someone came forward and said, Chief Du, thank you for leading the way. Su Yun didn't mean to ask him to stay. After saying that, he went straight to the scene. The place where they parked was only a few dozen meters away from the Buick MPV driven by Cho Yun. Du Yufeng was very unhappy, but Su Yun couldn't see his unhappy expression now. Zhang Yuanjun, the captain of the criminal police next to Du Yufeng, saw that Chief Du was unhappy at a glance. Chief Du, who is this young man? Who knows? His identity is not clear for the time being. Maybe he's from the top. Du Yufeng said, Chief Chen Wei of the Qingdao police said that he would be helpful to this case and asked us to assist him. And his identity is very special. Zhang Yuanjun nodded. Then help him. Chief Du, I think this guy is a little too arrogant. How about this? If it doesn't work, let's teach him a lesson and let him know that young people should be low-key and respectful. Don't mess around. Du Yufeng said, anyway, he's from the top. Let him know how to behave appropriately. Hurry up and find a car to send me back. I have a meeting to attend when I go back. Zhang Yuanjun immediately arranged for someone to send Du Yufeng out of the scene. Then he stared at the black Cayenne for a long time. What kind of young man could get into this kind of car? It was not a military license plate. Only the rich second generation could afford it, right? No matter who he was, Zhang Yuanjun looked down on those guys who relied on their parents to show off their wealth. Presumably, this young man was not capable. Du Yufeng had already gotten in the car and left, but Zhang Yuanjun didn't even know the young man's name. He strode to Su Yun and wanted to ask him about the specific situation. After all, this case was not something he could intervene in casually. Brother, you've come so far to investigate the case. You've worked hard. When Zhang Yuanjun walked to Su Yun was observing the blood on the car door. He could judge from the slender length of the fingers that the blood was from Cho Yun. Zhang Yuanjun handed him a cigarette and tried to say hello. Su Yun waved his hand. Thank you, but I don't know how to. My name is Zhang Yuanjun. I'm from the criminal police team. You? Su Yun. Su Yun replied. When Su Yun said the name, Zhang Yuanjun and the others were stunned. Someone had already exclaimed, I was wondering why he looked so familiar. This person. Take him down. Zhang Yuanjun suddenly turned hostile and directly ordered everyone to take action against Su Yun. Su Yun was also very surprised. Wasn't this too sudden? Just now, he wanted to give him a cigarette, and now he suddenly wanted to take action. How could this brainless person be a member of the criminal police team? Are you kidding me? Chapter 1783. Su Yun was on full alert. The criminal police surrounded him in the center. For a time, Su Yun could be said to be surrounded by enemies. Fortunately, Su Yun still had full confidence in facing these people. But even if he wanted to make a move, he needed a reason. After all, they were criminal police officers, national public servants. It was impossible to just cut them. He might even be charged with assaulting a police officer. Even if someone could take the blame for him, it would still be a crime. Therefore, Su Yun wouldn't act rashly. But if these people wanted to do something to him, he wouldn't be polite. He wouldn't hesitate to kick away those who wasted his time on this matter. Captain Zhang, what do you mean? Su Yun said coldly, your people better not make a move on me. I don't dare to say what kind of responsibility there will be for delaying the matter, but your people can't pose any threat to me. If you don't want your people to go to the hospital without a helper, then calm down first. Su Yun's words really didn't mean to be arrogant. He just wanted them to think clearly before making a move. If these people really made a move, then they really weren't his opponents. But the people who heard these words were all criminal police officers after all. What kind of fierce people hadn't they seen on a daily basis? Not to mention that there were so many of them facing Su Yun alone. Even if it was one-on-one, they weren't afraid of trouble. So Su Yun's words were almost equivalent to igniting the burning flame in the hearts of these guys. No one was afraid of trouble, so everyone wanted to teach this guy who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Zhang Yuanjun always believed that there were absolutely no cowards under his command. Since he met this kid who didn't care about his life today, then he would let him see the means of the criminal police team. Since this kid was so confident and thought that he was so powerful, then he would let him lose convincingly and let him know why he was beaten. Kid, anyone who has something to do with this case is a criminal suspect. No wonder you look so familiar. It turns out that you are the owner of this car. You want to fish in troubled waters? Zhang Yuanjun sneered. According to the information on the Buick MPV, they had already tracked down the owner of the car. Therefore, when they heard the name Su Yun, they had a sudden realization. They had all seen Su Yun's photo before, so they knew Su Yun's information. So what if the car is mine? Su Yun was speechless. I didn't intend to deny that the car was mine. Do you think that if the car wasn't mine and the people in the car had nothing to do with me, I would come here to talk nonsense with you? This is what the police should do. It has nothing to do with me. But now I'm involved in this matter, so I came here. If you don't want to cooperate with me, we can do our own things. But only if you don't get in my way. Zhang Yuanjun was a little dumbfounded. This guy admitted it too quickly. The car was his and he didn't deny it at all. Who exactly are you? Ask your bureau chief. Su Yun said coldly. With such a sentence, Zhang Yuanjun really didn't dare to act recklessly. But after all, the brothers in the criminal police team were full of anger. Under the signal of one of them, someone couldn't stand it anymore. I don't care if you have a special identity or not. I will take you down first. With this thought in mind, two of the criminal police team members who were unconvinced suddenly pounced on Su Yun from behind. This was the way to deal with criminals. Directly pounce on the ground and then lock both hands. No matter how fierce the guy was, he couldn't do anything. However, they really underestimated Su Yun's reaction speed. At the moment when the two of them pounced on him, Su Yun turned around and directly let the two guys pounce on nothing. Immediately after, Su Yun used his hands to control the two guys who wanted to sneak up on him. In just a second, the two agile criminal police officers were subdued by Su Yun with just one hand. The two people's wrists were intertwined behind their backs. Being controlled by Su Yun with just one hand, this feeling was really embarrassing. But at this point, struggling was meaningless. They had already used all their skills, but they couldn't break free from Su Yun's hands. Obviously, the difference in strength was too big. In the end, the two of them could only give up. In just one round, two of Zhang Yuanjun's subordinates were subdued. This was the first time Zhang Yuanjun had encountered this after becoming the captain of the criminal police team. Not to mention whether it was embarrassing or not, this Su Yun's ability was really too exaggerated, right? I have already said what I wanted to say. If you want to continue, please go ahead. Su Yun let go of the two people and took the opportunity to push the two criminal police officers a few meters away. One of them was unconvinced. He waved his fist again and went forward. Su Yun's cloud-summoning hand dissolved the strength of the fist. Using the strength of the fist, he pushed out his palm and directly slapped the person out. The person's body fell heavily on the ground. This move was definitely not something that an ordinary person could do. Zhang Yuanjun saw it clearly. If he didn't stop his subordinates, he would only be humiliating himself. "All of you, stop!" Zhang Yuanjun shouted. "There might be a misunderstanding just now. I will call Director Du to ask for instructions." After the others retreated, Su Yun continued to observe the scene to see if there was any evidence that was worthy of his attention. Du Yufeng had just gotten into the car and left for less than 10 minutes. After receiving Zhang Yuanjun's call and telling him these things, he was very impatient. "Didn't I tell you before? Just cooperate with him. Why do you care whether the car is his or not? Cooperate with him and close the case. The people in Qingdao are more anxious about this than us. What you need to do is cooperate, understand? Just cooperate with him. Don't make a mess of your own opinions. It's meaningless. Do you understand?" "Yes. I understand." Director Du. Zhang Yuanjun's heart calmed down after being scolded, but he was still curious. "Director Du, what is the identity of this Su Yun? Can I know more about it?" Du Yufeng didn't know about Su Yun's identity. If he knew, he would have told Zhang Yuanjun long ago. "Do your thing. Don't worry so much. You only need to know that his identity is special. I can't say more. Some things are not known by everyone." Although Du Yufeng himself didn't know the specific identity of Su Yun, he could only say so. In this way, Zhang Yuanjun wouldn't ask more, and he would have a way out. Otherwise, if his subordinates knew that he didn't even know about Su Yun's identity, they would definitely laugh at him. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Yuanjun also pretended to know about Su Yun's identity in front of his subordinates. He pretended to be mysterious and said, "Brother Su Yun, I'm really sorry about what happened just now. It's my fault that I didn't ask clearly about your identity. Just now, Director Du told me about your identity. Just now, it was a misunderstanding. I'll cooperate fully with you." Everyone focused their eyes on Su Yun. They were curious about Su Yun's identity, which could make their captain keep a low profile so quickly. Su Yun was a little speechless, because he was very sure that Du Yufeng didn't know his identity. How could he tell Zhang Yuanjun his identity? These people really didn't frown at all when lying. They said it as if it was true. They didn't feel guilty at all. "You don't have to flatter me so much. Su Yun, it doesn't matter if you know my identity or not. You just need to cooperate with me to find out the truth. Take me to the Feng family's grave. I need more clues. Let's go now." Zhang Yuanjun didn't say much. He was afraid that he would be exposed. He directly left the parking lot with Su Yun and went to Feng Minggua's grave. Chapter 1784. Although the two police officers who felt that they had been killed in seconds were not convinced, in the face of Su Yun's strength, they had no choice but to accept it. There was nothing they could do about it. Most of the time, this strength represented the right to speak. If it had been Su Yun who had been subdued by them earlier, they would not have felt so wronged now. If he felt uncomfortable in his heart, he could only blame himself for not being able to do anything. He could only follow behind Su Yun and Captain Zhang Yuanjun as they headed towards the tomb area. Although they did not feel good about it, the job requirements forced them to follow behind obediently and fully cooperate. This feeling of failure was quite strong. The scene at Feng Minggua's tombstone had been investigated and collected evidence, so it was difficult to maintain the original appearance. However, Su Yun's goal was clear. The first thing he wanted to see was the things inside Feng Minggua's tombstone. The empty urn made Su Yun feel as if something had hollowed out his heart. He had a headache because Pa Bo Yu was gone. Where was Pa Bo Yu? This was the key to the problem, and also the first thing Su Yun wanted to find. On the way to the tomb area, Su Yun had already seen the message from Lin Guo on his phone. Su Yun had read everything about Wen Zhao's analysis of the other party in detail. If the crime scene was very messy, it meant that Vulture did not get what he wanted, which meant that Guagua was still safe. There was no problem with these inferences, but there was a problem. If these inferences were correct, then the first thing Su Yun had to find was Pa Bo Yu. Only by proving that Pa Bo Yu was not in the hands of the other party would these inferences be meaningful. If they did not even know where Pa Bo Yu was, then these inferences would have no basis. Did you find anything at the scene? Su Yun asked. Captain Zhang, I need you to give me everything you found at this place. This is very important to me. We will cooperate if we can, but we really did not find any clues at this place, nor did we find anything that might have been left behind by the criminal, Zhang Yuanjun said. The criminal is very cunning, and the scene is very chaotic. There is almost no valid evidence. Clearly, the chaos at the scene represented a fierce battle. Su Yun frowned. Then, who moved the tomb? It was already like this when we arrived. Someone must have dug up the cemetery. And since your car is here, then the people in your car are closely related to what happened here. Zhang Yuanjun frowned. Who drove your car here? What's the connection between it and Feng Minggua's tombstone? Can you tell us? Don't let us guess blindly. This will help us solve the case, right? What is the motive of the person who came in that car? The person who came here in this car is Feng Minggua's granddaughter. She came here during the Qingming festival. What motive do you think she has? Su Yun said faintly, I don't need to say more, right? There's nothing suspicious about the people in the car, but someone attacked the people in the car. Do you understand? Zhang Yuanjun nodded his head in realization. It was obvious that someone had come for the items in the tomb. The urn in the graveyard was empty, which meant that Feng Minghua wasn't buried here at all. But this place had been dug up. What was buried here? The things in the cemetery are very important. If you find anything, you must tell me. Su Yun said, if we can't find the things in the cemetery, there's no point in investigating. Pa Bo Yu was not found successfully. Su Yun tried his best to take a deep breath to calm himself down. He knew that he could not lock his eyes on the cemetery. He needed to expand his search area. Some of the evidence from the cemetery has been taken away for identification and sealing. I think you should go and take a look. Maybe you can find something. Zhang Yuanjun suddenly said, moreover, there's nothing to study here. It's meaningless to stay. Su Yun frowned. Could it be that Pa Bo Yu had been taken to the identification department of the police station? Whether it was or not, Su Yun wanted to confirm it himself. Can you help me call your director, Do? Ask him to order people to take care of all the things brought back from this place. Of course, no problem. Zhang Yuanjun nodded. He was sure that Su Yun was hiding something from them because he cared too much about the things in the cemetery. Maybe there was really some treasure inside. Otherwise, why would there be such a big commotion? The cemetery was not quiet for the whole day. Now that everyone had finally left, the cemetery keeper nagged at the group of tombstones for a long time. He said that he had disturbed their rest, asked them not to be offended, and that it was not intentional. He looked a little weird. When the cemetery quieted down, Vulture knew that he could make his move. In fact, after the police appeared, he did not act rashly. He did not run away. Instead, he hid himself well. As long as he kept an eye on Guagua and Cho Yun, even if the police were there, they would not be able to find the reservoir. As the sky started to darken, the people who fished during the day started to pack up and go home. Those who liked to fish at night also came early to occupy the best spots. Vulture tied up Guagua and Cho Yun in the car and used tape to seal their mouths. "You better cooperate with me. Don't make me angry. That won't be good for anyone. Do you understand?" Guagua could not open her mouth to speak, so she could only nod. Even if she wanted them to run now, she had nowhere to run. Cho Yan's injury was so serious that it had only stopped bleeding. She couldn't run far at all. She needed to rest. Guagua was the only one who could compete with Vulture. After Vulture tied the two up, he went straight to the manager of the reservoir. At this time, the manager was preparing to collect the fees from the fishermen who came at night. Vulture's sudden appearance was quite scary. After all, he did not look like a Hua Xia person. "Tonight, no one will come to the reservoir to fish. I want to fish here alone." Vulture was very direct and explained his purpose in one sentence. "Aya, this is such a big reservoir. Just for you alone? What kind of leader are you?" The manager said disdainfully, "The reservoir is not your house. You can do whatever you want. It belongs to us. We have the final say. A fisherman costs 30 yuan a night. There are hundreds of people in one night. If you don't want them to come, then are you going to pay for it? How much?" Vulture did not care about the other things he said. "How much?" "I'll take care of it." "How?" "How much?" The manager was stunned. Usually, they could collect 35,000 yuan a night. Today, this guy wanted to take care of it? That would not do. He had to scam him. At least 8,000 yuan. Vulture took out the money without hesitation. He had exchanged a lot of cash when he came to Hua Xia. They were bundles of 100 yuan bills. He threw one bundle over. "This is 10,000 yuan. Keep the change. But if anyone disturbs me, I promise you will not have a good ending." As he spoke, Vulture picked up the manager's teacup and crushed it in his hand. He rubbed his fingers in his palm and the broken white porcelain was crushed into powder. This was not a magic show. The manager was very clear that his teacup was definitely not a prop. He was definitely not a scammer. "I promise that no one will disturb you." The money grubber put away the $100 bill. He was overjoyed. The reservoir was the public property of their village. They knew how much they could charge for a night. As long as he paid 5,000, it would be good enough. The rest would be his. Chapter 1785. After driving away all the fishermen, the entire reservoir quieted down. The huge fishing paradise belonged to Vulture tonight, becoming his private swimming pool. As a precaution, he drove the car that was hidden in the forest to the side of the reservoir. After confirming Guagua's hiding place yesterday, Vulture took off his shoes and jacket and went straight into the water in the dark. In the small residential building of the reservoir in the distance, the reservoir manager had been observing the actions of this tycoon. He thought that this tycoon was the kind of fisherman who was super rich but didn't like noise, so he would directly book the reservoir to catch a big fish alone. He didn't expect that this tycoon would directly swim and dive. Swimming and diving weren't important. The important thing was that he didn't even have a swimsuit or diving equipment. He just took off his jacket and jumped in directly. That was too bold. TSK. TSK, TSK. He really didn't understand the world of the rich. 10,000 yuan to book a reservoir for a swim? He didn't want this tycoon to fish because he was afraid of being caught by the hook. As the reservoir manager looked at the bubbling water, his imagination ran wild. Soon, he realized something. A few minutes had passed, but the local tycoon still hadn't surfaced. Occasionally, two bubbles would appear on the surface of the water, but most of the time, there were no waves. Of course, this would be strange and terrifying. What if this person directly suffocated to death? Then, as the reservoir manager tonight, he would have to take responsibility. This person was so rich. If he really drowned here, what would happen if his family came looking for him? He wouldn't be able to explain himself then. After all, he was the one who paid him to play here alone. Just as the reservoir manager could no longer sit still and picked up a flashlight to check out the situation at the reservoir, a series of bubbles appeared on the surface of the water. Following that, the tycoon who had booked the entire place came out of the water with a cry. Good Lord, he had been diving for nearly 10 minutes. It should be known that it was difficult for the average person to hold their breath for more than 3 minutes when diving. That feeling of suffocation was terrifying and frightening, so the average person wouldn't dive for too long. Unless they were professionally trained frogmen, they might be able to hold their breath for a longer time. However, even frogmen would wear oxygen tanks when they were diving. However, Vulture couldn't get an oxygen tank. First, he didn't have the time to run back and forth. Second, if he did that, he would definitely attract more attention from the reservoir manager. Therefore, he could only dive naked. However, there was really no way to stay underwater for too long. Even the Guinness World Record was only around 10 minutes. And that was under the condition that he had to breathe pure oxygen for a while before diving into the water. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't be able to stay underwater for more than 10 minutes. Of course, Vulture was no ordinary person. However, no matter how tall he was, being able to dive underwater for 7 to 8 minutes was already his limit. If it wasn't for Pobo U's magic that gave Vulture endless power, Vulture wouldn't have been able to do this. However, the underwater search ended with Vulture's failure. After Vulture came ashore, he quickly got into the passenger seat and turned around to stare at Guagua. Was the jade thrown here or not? I already said that I lost it. How could I throw something so important into the reservoir? Guagua said, I think we should go back and look for it. Maybe I lost it in the cemetery, right? Why don't you believe me? Why would I lie to you? I'd be a fool to believe you, Vulture thought to himself. This little girl was so cunning at such a young age. The more she didn't let Vulture look for it in the reservoir, the more certain Vulture was that Pobo U was in the reservoir. Humph, she even left it in the cemetery. She wanted to trick him into going back to the cemetery to look for it. At this time, there might be a group of criminal police waiting for him to walk into the trap. It was still the same sentence. Vulture didn't want to get himself into big trouble in Huaxia. Therefore, he tried his best to avoid many things as much as possible. Otherwise, the unlucky person would definitely be him. He could fight with anyone but Huaxia's police force. It was too scary. Little girl, you'd better be responsible for what you say. You have to know that if I find Pobo U earlier, it won't do you any harm. You can also be free earlier, and your sister can also be free earlier. Vulture said, if I can't find the jade, we will continue to waste time here. Waste time. This was what Guagua wanted. Since what happened in the cemetery had alarmed the police, and their car was still in the parking lot, it was only a matter of time before the news reached Su Yun. Perhaps Su Yun was already on his way to Su Hang. With Su Yun's meticulous thinking, Guagua really didn't mind wasting time next to the reservoir. As long as Su Yun came, this guy wouldn't be able to escape even if he had wings. Humph. Guagua thought to herself, let's see how long you can be smug for. When this lady's father, Su Yun, comes, I'll definitely teach you a lesson. Vulture, who was finally able to catch his breath, took a few deep breaths. He still believed in his judgment. He had to continue searching. As long as he worked hard enough to grind an iron pestle into a needle, the heavens wouldn't let him down. Vulture believed that as long as he searched the bottom of this area, he would definitely be able to find what he wanted. What was this called? This was called perseverance. This was called the road to happiness is strewn with setbacks. With his persevering heart, Vulture once again pulled himself together, got out of the car, and dived into the pitch-black reservoir once more. In the manager's small house in the distance, the manager of the reservoir was really confused. The rich people these days were really humane and perverted. It was really something that ordinary people like them could not understand. The things they did were so strange and perverted. He finally understood that this rich nouveau riche was neither diving nor swimming. He was just humiliating himself. He just wanted to see when he could suffocate himself to death. The manager suddenly thought that if something happened, he had to have some evidence to prove that it had nothing to do with him. He took out his phone and got ready. When the rich man came out of the water, he went back to the car to rest for a while. When he went back into the water again, the reservoir manager filmed the whole process. He wanted to film it like this. If this guy really suffocated himself to death, he could only blame himself for overestimating himself. He was too stupid. Just like that, the manager waited and waited. This time, he actually waited for 10 minutes before the water surface bubbled and he came out of the water. If it wasn't for the loud breathing sounds coming from the water surface, he really would have thought that it was a corpse that floated up. TSK, TSK, TSK. If this continued, there would definitely be a time when he would die. The manager shook his head helplessly, but he felt that something was wrong. Thinking about it, who would be so stupid to suffocate themselves again and again? This guy always went into the water at this place. Could it be that there was something underwater? Could this thing be worth 10,000 yuan for him to dig it out? The manager was a little surprised. Why didn't he think of it in the beginning? Now that he thought about it, although this guy was generous, the car he drove wasn't a luxury car. It was just a very ordinary SUV. Even a slightly better family with a formal job could afford it. Of course, this car was rented by Vulture. After he crossed the border from Southeast Asia, he rented this car. In order to keep a low profile, he rented a very common car. It was very good to avoid people's attention. The more the reservoir manager thought about it, the more he felt that something was amiss. He decided that he would personally go over there and see what kind of tricks this guy was playing. If there were any benefits, he would definitely take a share of it. Or, he would directly refund the 10,000 yuan and let him leave. Chapter 1786. The reservoir manager was destined to be in trouble. He held a flashlight and staggered towards the car. He had drunk a little at night, so his footsteps weren't steady at all. There were a few times when he almost fell into the reservoir. When he staggered to the side of the car, he really thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Through the dark green window film, he seemed to see two vague figures in the car, and they were making weak, muffled sounds. Clearly, Guagua and Cho Yun in the car had seen the guy who had suddenly appeared. According to the time Vulture had taken to get into the water, it would take another 5 minutes for him to surface for a breather. If they could get the help of the person outside in the next 5 minutes, as long as he helped release Cho Yun could quickly drive away with Guagua. She only needed 3 minutes to drive the car out of the dilapidated road in the reservoir area. As long as they were on the main road, even if Vulture had wings, he wouldn't be able to catch up to them. Now, what the two of them needed to do was to keep asking for help and let the person outside the car notice their existence. Although the reservoir manager had drunk a little too much, his eyesight and ears were still quite good. When he heard the sound and saw the figure, he realized that something was wrong. He subconsciously wanted to open the car door, but the moment his fingers touched the door, he became afraid. What was he afraid of? He was afraid of revenge. If a person who could casually take out $10,000 wanted to take revenge on him, wouldn't it be easy? Wouldn't he be able to buy his life with a little money? No, this couldn't be done recklessly. Sometimes, a person's heroism was definitely harmful. It was best not to be so impulsive. But if the person in the car could get his help, then he would have done a great deed. In this dilemma, the reservoir manager was in a dilemma. He was worried about the person in the car, but he was also worried about the person who could surface at any time. But at that moment, the water surface bubbled. The reservoir manager knew that the person in the water was about to come up. But he had nowhere to hide now. He didn't want the person to know that he had seen something he shouldn't have. This time, Vulture came out faster because he was still grabbing handfuls of mud with both hands. If Paboyu had been thrown into the water by Guagua, it could only have been by the shore, and definitely not into the reservoir. If she had thrown it into the middle of the reservoir, it would not have been easy for her to find it. In theory, such a large piece of Pobo jade would definitely sink to the bottom of the water instead of floating out with the current. Vulture had searched the area within a radius of 10 meters around this point, but all he could find was more mud and more mud. He couldn't even find a trace of Poboyu. Obviously, Vulture was getting impatient. He finally couldn't hold it in any longer. He floated to the surface of the water and prepared to deal with Guagua. He wanted to see if she would still be so stubborn. He had to get some meaningful clues. If this continued, he would be left with nothing. Just like that, he wasted his time in vain. Puff. Vulture came ashore and shook the water off his body. Then, he saw a figure standing beside the car. Vulture, who was on high alert, almost used a big move to instantly kill this guy. "Boss, are you taking a shower? Do you need soap and a towel?" The reservoir manager didn't know what to say. He was a little dumbfounded. Why don't I get you a bar of soap? Ha ha ha, how can you take a shower without soap? What, do you still want shampoo? I have big bags of them. They don't cost more. I have soft, light, clear, all kinds of big bags. They cost 20% more and cost 150 yuan per bag. Vulture was a little confused by the reservoir manager. He didn't know if he was promoting small bags of shampoo or big bags of instant noodles. "I'll give it to you. It's free." The reservoir manager laughed. "What's the relationship between the two of us? From now on, we're brothers. If you come in the future, just say hi to me. If you want to take a shower, you can do so any time." Vulture took a long time to recover. This was a reservoir, not a bathhouse. "What are you doing here?" Vulture asked coldly. The feeling of having his privacy peeked at was really unpleasant. The reservoir manager hurriedly waved his hand and said, "I didn't see anything. I really didn't see anything. I just saw that you were in the water for too long. I was worried, so I came to take a look. Seeing that the boss is fine, I'm fine too. I'm busy. If there's nothing else, I'll go back first. I remember that when I gave you the money, I told you not to let anyone come over after taking the money," Vulture said. "Since you took the money, you have to follow my rules." The reservoir manager nodded vigorously. "That's right. No one will come over." "You're not human?" Vulture sneered. "Then I'll fulfill your wish and let you become a ghost." As he spoke, Vulture made his move. With a crack, he twisted the reservoir manager's neck and threw him into the reservoir. Vulture didn't plan on wasting any more time here. He had underestimated the brat. He had already realized that he had been fooled by the brat. Vulture quickly opened the door and got into the car. He turned around and stared coldly at Guagua. "Little girl, you're ruthless. You're the first person who can fool me so miserably. However, I promise that your tricks won't continue. I don't have the patience to continue entangling with you. I'll take you away now. If you don't tell me the news of Poboyu tomorrow morning, I promise that the people around you will become corpses. Even if you want to die, you won't have the chance. I mean what I say." Guagua didn't say anything. Vulture wasn't a fool. He understood everything. It wasn't easy to fool him. Guagua also knew that he would definitely understand, but she didn't expect this guy to understand so quickly. She thought that this guy would really spend the night here. At this time, Guagua felt a little guilty. After all, a living person was killed by Vulture and thrown into the reservoir because of them. This feeling made Guagua very uncomfortable. Vulture, who had killed the person, obviously didn't want to stay for long. He quickly drove away from the crime scene. He didn't have time to think about whether he had left any evidence of the crime behind. Anyway, he would leave immediately after getting the Pobo jade. It would take some time for the Huaxia police to investigate and find clues. He was not worried about this. Su Yun didn't find Poboyu in the evidence room. He asked every police officer present about this in detail. He described Poboyu's appearance, but no one said that they had seen it. Su Yun became more and more worried. He decided that he had to hurry back. Even if he had to search around the cemetery overnight, he had to find some useful clues. When Su Yun returned to the cemetery again, the sky was already dark. He followed some subtle clues in the parking lot and locked his target on the path. Soon, Soo-yun found something. He found car tire tracks and messy footsteps. Some belonged to adults, and some belonged to children. Following these clues, Soo-yun slowly found his way to the reservoir. It was such a big reservoir, but there wasn't even a night fisherman. Soo-yun was a little disappointed. He wanted to ask the night fisherman if anyone had fished here yesterday. He wanted to see if they could provide him with some useful clues. Just as Soo-yun walked towards the reservoir, he saw a series of bubbles coming out of the reservoir. Then, a person floated out of the water. Chapter 1787. Soo-yun did not even think as he rushed forward. No matter who floated out of the water, he could not leave them to die. The person in the water was struggling. It was obvious that he was drowning and not playing with the water. However, when Soo-yun rushed to the side of the reservoir, the person who seemed to be drowning was struggling to swim to the shore. It was obvious that he was a good swimmer. That's right, this was the reservoir manager who had his neck twisted by Vulture and thrown into the water. This guy was really lucky. Just now, when Vulture twisted his neck, it didn't break his neck. Instead, it cured his stiff neck from yesterday. When this person was thrown into the water, he knew that he had encountered a robber. If he was not careful, he might lose his life. If he lost his life, who could save him? No one. He could only save himself. His method was to hold his breath and pretend to be dead. He held his breath for 5 to 6 minutes. During these 5 to 6 minutes, Vulture had already driven away. Of course, he was afraid that killing someone would cause trouble, so he left very quickly. Reality proved that his decision to leave quickly was correct. Otherwise, he would have coincidentally bumped into Soo-yun. Once Vulture bumped into Soo-yun, it was hard to say what kind of fierce battle would happen. Although Soo-yun had the advantage in terms of strength, he had just recovered from his injuries, and it was still unknown how much of his strength he could unleash. Vulture, on the other hand, was completely infatuated with Pa Bo-yu, and he could do even crazier things than usual. Therefore, before this battle began, no one dared to make a conclusion. Unfortunately, this battle was missed. Vulture left 5 to 6 minutes early, and Soo-yun was 5 to 6 minutes late. The only person who experienced this whole process was the reservoir manager, who held his breath and pretended to be dead. To be able to hold his breath in the water for 5 to 6 minutes without panting, he was really at his limit. When people were at their limits, they could do incredible things. In order to save their lives, there was nothing they could not do. When the reservoir manager came ashore and saw another figure, his whole body shivered. He was scared, really scared. Some people could always break through their biological limits when they had no other choice. Although his job was to look after the reservoir, the longest he had ever held his breath was only 2 minutes. This time, it took him 2 or 3 times longer. One could imagine how scared he was just now. I didn't see anything. I don't know anything. After the reservoir manager saw Soo-yun, his mind went blank. Brother, I beg you. Let me live. I really have parents and children. I definitely won't say anything. What did you see? This time, it really piqued Soo-yun's curiosity. Say it. I didn't see anything. I didn't see what I shouldn't see, I didn't listen to what I shouldn't hear, and I didn't say what I shouldn't say. The reservoir manager said very seriously, Please be magnanimous and pretend that I don't exist. I swear that after tonight, I will definitely be disappointed. Please. Soo-yun picked him up. I want you to tell me what you saw, not that you didn't see it. I really... The reservoir manager came back to his senses. This was not a person. Yes, not a person. Who are you? Are you crazy? Go away. I didn't say anything just now. I just went into the water to swim. Soo-yun didn't say anything, but his cold eyes swept across the reservoir manager's face. That feeling made him suffocate. Did he see a ghost tonight? Why were the people he met so terrifying? That kind of aura, that kind of oppressive feeling, it made him unable to breathe. Under Soo-yun's powerful and terrifying aura, the reservoir manager couldn't control himself. Just now, there was a person driving here. He seemed to be looking for something underwater. He had 2 people in his car. They seem to have been kidnapped by him. That's all I know. Really, I really don't know anything. That's all I know. When he found out that I saw his secret, he wanted to break my neck, kill me, and throw me into the reservoir. Then how did you survive? Soo-yoon was very surprised. Vulture was an expert in the mercenary world. Once this kind of neck-breaking killing move was used, it would be very difficult to escape. Moreover, the person who fell into the water was obviously an ordinary person. Facing the killing move of an expert mercenary, he actually survived. It was really something that couldn't be explained. The reservoir manager grinned awkwardly. I was sleeping last night and my neck was stiff. Just now, his move, fix it for me. With a stiff neck, he actually managed to survive. His life was really tough. Soo-yoon frowned and observed the surrounding situation. According to the tire tracks, a car had indeed just passed by here. Soo-yoon had to make a bold guess. The person who killed this person was Vulture, and the 2 people who were kidnapped in the car were Guagua and Cho-yun. What's the brand of the car? What's the license plate number? Soo-yoon asked. The reservoir manager was dumbfounded. How could he remember so many things? I forgot. You don't remember at all? What color? What model? You should at least remember, right? Soo-yoon, you can't have completely forgotten, right? I've really forgotten all about it now. The reservoir manager didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he suddenly thought of something. Yes, I have the evidence. It's in my phone. If you want to see it, follow me. Of course, Soo-yoon wanted to see it. He followed the reservoir manager to his small house. The reservoir manager immediately took out his phone and played the video he had just taken to Soo-yoon. Although he played it wrong, he didn't know if it was a video of him flirting with a girl or if it was downloaded from the internet. In any case, it was quite embarrassing. After finding the video, although the picture wasn't particularly clear, Soo-yoon still recognized that it was a white off-road vehicle. The general shape looked like an old CR-V, but the license plate couldn't be seen clearly. This was the only effective clue Soo-yoon had at the moment. Soo-yoon didn't have time to say anything to the reservoir manager. He quickly rushed back to the small road where he had parked his car. Now he needed to find the car. It was obviously impossible for him to do it alone in such a big suong. Without thinking, he dialed the number that Du Yufeng had left for him. Du Yufeng had told Soo-yoon this number before he got off work. He had very kindly told Soo-yoon to call this number if he needed anything. He had promised to help him solve the problem as soon as possible. However, Du Yufeng was thinking in his heart that he shouldn't call him. He shouldn't call him when he was resting. That was too annoying. However, now that Du Yufeng had just made a cup of tea and was sitting comfortably on the sofa, preparing to watch something like Speed and Gay 8 with his family, Soo-yoon's phone call came. When he saw the number displayed on the phone, Du Yufeng's brows directly frowned. But he still had to adjust his mood and pretend that he had just finished his work. He picked up the phone. Hello? Soo-yoon. Director Du, I hope I'm not disturbing your rest at this time. Soo-yoon, if I'm disturbing, I really can't help it. I just found an effective clue and need you to cooperate with my work. Du Yufeng was stunned. This Soo-yoon really had some ability. So many people in the criminal police team under him said that they needed some time to organize the clues. This Soo-yoon was really amazing. He went to the cemetery alone and called to say that he had a clue. Just say it. As long as you need me, I will fully cooperate. Du Yufeng was really energized by Soo-yoon. Chapter 1788. After Du Yufeng hung up the phone, he kept repeating that it was not easy. Although the work in the middle of the night did make him feel physically and mentally exhausted, if the case could be solved in such a short time, it would definitely be a credit to him. Everyone would praise the wise leader in this kind of matter. He was the leader after all. Zhang Yuanjun, inform your men to get ready for battle. We're going to take down the suspect tonight. Before Du Yufeng contacted the traffic police, he called Zhang Yuanjun first. Once the suspect's vehicle is found, I want you to rush over immediately. You must not let that outsider Su Yun steal the credit of the Suong police. Do you understand what I mean? This person must be caught by us. If Su Yun is caught, it will be the credit of Qin Island's Chen Wei. Although being eager for quick success and instant benefits was not a good word, to some extent, it could really bring a certain degree of motivation to work. At least, Du Yufeng could now feel the call of merit, so he could be in high spirits at night. After contacting the criminal police team, he immediately dialed the number of the traffic police department. This comprehensive operation was carried out quietly without anyone noticing. Even Vulture, who had been on the battlefield all year round, did not smell the danger at all. His whole mind was focused on Pobo Yu. For him, nothing was important now, only Pobo Yu was the most important. Su Yun was the one who got the first clue. Based on his analysis of the scene and Vulture's psychological analysis, he chased after the most likely route of escape. Su Yun had been looking forward to finding something, because based on his understanding of Guagua, with Guagua's witty little brain, as long as there was a slight chance, she would leave some clues and evidence for him. However, Su Yun did not find anything. This clearly showed that the other party had control over Guagua, and did not give her any chance to make a move. Fortunately, Chen Wei could communicate with the Suong police in advance, so Director Du would spare no effort to help. With Du Yufeng's assurance, Su Yun felt a little relieved. After all, no matter what, the other party was still in Suong. As long as they were in Suong, it meant that Pobo Yu had not succeeded. Su Yun also did not understand this point. Where would Guagua hide Pobo Yu? Just now, the manager of the reservoir had said that there were people constantly diving into the reservoir as if they were looking for something. Even the bottom of the reservoir had been touched by the vultures. If there was still nothing, could it be that Guagua had eaten it? Hiss. Su Yun took a deep breath. Since it was something that Guagua did not want, he was not confident that he could find it. Of course, if Su Yun could not find it. Vulture, who had escaped from the reservoir, had been carefully planning his next itinerary. Although Pobo Yu was most likely hiding in the suburbs, it was not convenient for him to hide in the suburbs. He could only settle down in a place where there were more people. Just like that, Vulture drove all the way to the downtown area. However, when he arrived at the downtown area, he began to worry about another problem. Of the two people in his car, Cho Yen was quiet and could not cause any trouble. However, Guagua was different. If this little girl wanted to cause any trouble, Vulture really felt that he could not guard against her. Although this worry sounded like nothing, Vulture had to be prepared. Although he came to the city of Suong, where the good and the bad were mixed, he still did not dare to find a place to stay. Just like that, after a few rounds of consideration, Vulture chose the underground parking lot of a large supermarket. It was a 2-story parking lot. There were not many people on the lower floor, and the secluded corners were easy for them to hide in. The lights were dim, and it was indeed the best choice for Vulture. Since we can't find Pobo Yu, I have to trouble you to stay in this car with me for the night, Vulture said after parking the car. I don't have anything to eat, and I don't have water. If you figured out where Pobo Yu is, then tell me while you can still speak. Vulture decided to use a new method to solve this problem. He had to endure. Just like how he had endured Vulture. He did not believe that a child could last long without eating, drinking, and sleeping. Sooner or later, she would not be able to endure it, and it would be soon, very soon. After all, none of them had slept since last night. Furthermore, they hadn't had a drop of water for the entire day. Even Vulture himself felt that his mouth was a little dry. However, he did not dare to leave them here alone to buy water and food, so he could only endure it with them. Guagua, who had been nervous all this time, did not feel thirsty or hungry at all. However, after hearing what he said, she suddenly felt hungry and thirsty. This feeling was really uncomfortable. As long as you tell me the whereabouts of Pobo Yu, or take me to find Pobo Yu, then no matter what you want today, I can satisfy you, Vulture said. As long as you give me Pobo Yu, I will take you to eat whatever you want to eat. Whatever you want to drink, I will buy it for you. You don't have to endure it so badly, right? Guagua rolled her eyes in disdain. She did not say a word. He wanted to bribe her with this little thing? This guy was really looking down on others. Guagua wasn't afraid of this at all. Wasn't it just holding it in? Anyway, everyone was the same. They hadn't eaten or drunk anything since last night. Let's see who would give up first. Little girl, you are quite stubborn. Then I really want to see how long you can endure, Vulture said. You know, once I was ambushed on the battlefield in the Middle East. In the pile of corpses, I did not drink a single drop of water. When I was thirsty, I chewed on grass roots and leaves to obtain a small amount of water from them. Just like that, I persisted for 4 days and left the encirclement. Do you think you can endure it longer than me? The tape on Guagua's mouth had not been removed, so she could not speak. Otherwise, she would have said directly, "Who doesn't know how to brag?" You take your time to think about it. I am going to sleep first. Vulture found a comfortable position and said, "Little girl, even if you don't think about yourself, you should think about the person next to you. I know that she used some elixirs to treat her injuries, but she lost so much blood. It is already very exaggerated that she did not replenish her blood in time. If she can't even replenish her water, then I am afraid that she will be the first to die among the 3 of us." Guagua's heart thumped. Even if she knew that Vulture was deliberately provoking her, there was no way to deny that Vulture was telling the truth. Cho Yun could not endure it like them. She needed water too much. Cho Yun shook her head and looked at Guagua with a firm gaze. She wanted to tell Guagua with her eyes that she must hold on. She must hold on. She must not let all her previous efforts go to waste because of her. She wanted Guagua to believe that someone would come to save them sooner or later. Su Yun would definitely come. Guagua could not help but bite her lower lip. If she was alone, she would definitely fight to the death with the other party. But what about Cho Yun? What should she do? Guagua racked her brains but could not think of any way to let Cho Yun get help first. Was he really going to resign himself to fate like this? No, there must be other ways. There must be other ways to solve this matter. Chapter 1789. With the cooperation of many departments, Du Yufeng quickly locked onto some targets through the traffic cameras at the major traffic lights. The model provided by Su Yun was too ordinary. There were many CRVs of the previous generation of Honda on the road, and most of them were white, so it was difficult to rule them out. After all, the clarity of the video camera was too bad. Su Yun couldn't identify the license plate of the car. If he could identify the license plate number, this matter would be much simpler. But now, even if there were many difficulties, this matter still had to be solved and dealt with. Even if there were many of the same model, they had to be ruled out one by one. No matter what, no matter how much they had to pay, there was only one purpose, and that was to deal with this matter. As for other things, it didn't matter. Just like that, the traffic police department investigated every car and every license plate to collect evidence and analyze the owner's information. These people had a lot of face. Some were working for the government, some were from state-owned enterprises and private enterprises, and some were loafers who only knew how to get by. These people were really not suspicious at all, especially those who were working for the government. Although they earned less, they could get in touch with people and get things done. So in many cases, a lot of consumption was not needed. Although it was like killing flies and tigers, there was a saying that there were policies at the top and countermeasures at the bottom. Some people's ability to make money was absolutely varied, especially those small towns in 3rd or 4th tier cities. Even if the secretary of a town was not related to the death of a second uncle, he would spread the news. People would come to pay their respects and send wreaths. Of course, they would also send some money along the way. This kind of thing was absolutely impossible to stop. So these people who were working for the government couldn't have those messy ideas, and they wouldn't take risks because of some ideas. Of course, these were all things considered by Du Yufeng and the others. They really didn't know that Su Yun wanted to catch a militant leader who had been a mercenary for 20 years. He was a master. As for the people from the large state-owned enterprises, Du Yufeng felt that there was nothing to be suspicious about. Telecommunications and mobile companies were all profiteering industries. Working in such places, selling cards and internet, the monthly commission would be very high. Premier Chong was right. They should reduce the internet fees and increase the internet speed. In the end, Du Yufeng could only set his sights on those self-employed and loafers. If a self-employed person wanted to take the risk of kidnapping, it meant that his own business was not doing well. Du Yufeng quickly investigated a few of the self-employed people he had targeted and began to study them. However, the conclusion was that it was impossible for it to have anything to do with these people. Obviously, these people wouldn't do that kind of thing. Among the owners of the old Honda CR-V off-road vehicles, some opened restaurants, some engaged in renovation, and some started an online shop a long time ago. Therefore, these people could be regarded as quite rich individuals for a living. After all, buying this car 7 or 8 years ago really required a bit of money in their pockets. Moreover, some people had more than one car. They already had a second car, such as a BMW 5 Series or an Audi A6. That was not a problem at all. There was nothing to be suspicious about these people. Then, the only ones left were those loafers. It could only be that these people did this kind of thing for the sake of money. After careful analysis, the gangsters who still drove an old Honda CR-V to mingle in the underworld were obviously not big shots. The big shots had already changed to Land Rovers. At the very least, they would get a tyrant to drive. Of course, they were not those small gangsters. Small gangsters were just making a living and drinking. If they could afford to smoke, go to bars, and take a taxi when they went out. If they were good, they could get a second-hand Santana or Jetta to drive. Then they would be satisfied. But often, these gangsters who were neither big nor small were the most difficult to figure out because they were ambitious and low-key. Anyway, it was hard to figure out their thoughts. There was a certain way to do it. Therefore, there were some things that Du Yufeng didn't know how to say. However, if Du Yufeng were to investigate, he would only be able to investigate these people. Just as Du Yufeng was about to do this meaningless thing, there was a piece of news that made him excited. There was a white CR-V that was not from the province that entered the underground parking lot of a large supermarket. According to the search of the car's information, it was actually a car that had all the information about it fake. That's right, the car's license plate was fake. There was no information about it at all. Du Yufeng was immediately energized. Only this kind of car had the biggest motive because there was no information about it. Vulture didn't know that he had been scammed after arriving at Huaxia. The place where he rented the car was a deep pit. The people who were scammed were foreigners who came to rent cars. These unlicensed cars that couldn't be dealt with would be given fake documents to the renters and then charged a security deposit that was much higher than the value of the car. After the car was confiscated, they wanted to go back and look for it, but the renters refused to admit it. There was no evidence to investigate them at all. This time, Vulture was scammed. But after all, he didn't plan to return the car. It didn't matter if he was scammed. But this car with a fake license plate had caused him a lot of trouble. No matter what, he couldn't get away now. Du Yufeng directly went to the scene and brought all the criminal police officers with him. When he did all this, he didn't inform Su Yun in time. That's right, he wanted to steal the limelight and fight for the credit. So, he didn't want to leak the information to Su Yun in advance. Once Su Yun came, he might not be able to take the credit in the end. In fact, Su Yun had been waiting for Du Yufeng's call. He was looking for clues by himself and hoping that the Suong police would be more helpful. But he didn't receive Du Yufeng's call until he reached the city. Although Su Yun was a little impatient, he couldn't blame others. After all, this was not an easy thing to deal with. Su Yun also believed that Vulture had the ability to avoid some things. At this time, Su Yun saw several special police vehicles go straight in one direction. He frowned. Was there another big case at this time? It seemed that Director Du didn't have it easy. Su Yun felt a little sorry. No one had it easy. Just now, he had said that Director Du didn't care. In fact, now that he thought about it, Director Du had done a very good job. At this time he could still give him so much help. Although he still had to look for clues about Vulture, after all, something had happened in front of him. No matter what, Su Yun was also a member of the Dragon's Fury Special Forces. The matter in front of him was a top priority. If he really encountered something that he could solve easily, he would feel guilty if he didn't take action. Thinking so in his heart, Su Yun couldn't help but drive to follow the vehicles of the special police. Perhaps this was a kind of occupational disease. He couldn't bear to see any little bit of danger appear among the people. After all, this was a downtown area. If the special police were dispatched, it obviously showed how dangerous this matter was. The more Su Yun thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. The sooner he solved the problem, the sooner he could give the ordinary people a safe and stable social order. Chapter 1790. After Du Yufeng concluded that the suspect was in this underground garage, he rushed to the scene without stopping. He decided to personally command the criminal police team to arrest the suspect. The criminal police captain, Zhang Yuanjun, was definitely promoted by Du Yufeng, so he absolutely cooperated with Du Yufeng's command 100%. In this way, the Suong police surrounded the suspect vehicle without the assistance of Su Yun. In fact, Zhang Yuanjun tried to remind Du Yufeng of a problem. What if the suspect was too ferocious? He had witnessed Su Yun's skill. It was definitely not on the same level as them. How could the suspect that he would personally arrest be simple? It definitely couldn't be simple. If the other party was too ferocious and they had casualties, it wouldn't be a good thing. However, Zhang Yuanjun felt that they might come up empty-handed. What if the suspect in the car was not a criminal suspect? If they called Su Yun to the scene in a hurry and made a mistake, wouldn't it be a joke for outsiders to see them? This wasn't the result that Zhang Yuanjun wanted, so Zhang Yuanjun decided not to inform outsiders. Regardless of whether the suspect was real or not, Zhang Yuanjun asked his men to be on the highest alert. On the way here, he repeatedly reminded his men that they must be careful and cautious. No one was a cat. No one had 9 lives. This reality wasn't like playing Contra, where you could resurrect infinitely after using a cheat. The brothers of the criminal police team hadn't seen their captain so serious and naggy for a long time. They were fully prepared. They knew that although Zhang Yuanjun usually looked a bit unreliable, he was really the stabilizing force of their criminal police team when they really encountered a big problem. With him around, they would always feel at ease. Soon, the criminal police team all entered the garage under Du Yufeng's command. After checking the basement 1 level, they didn't find the suspect vehicle. This time, Du Yufeng was even more certain that the car was in danger. Why? There were more than a dozen empty parking spaces in the basement 1 level garage. He still parked on the basement 2 level. How could there be no problem? Today wasn't the weekend. Although there were enough people coming out to shop, there weren't so many that the 2-level parking lot would explode. Moreover, it wasn't early now. It was time for the big shopping malls to close. At this time, people would still park their cars on the 2nd floor of the basement. Usually, they were doing something shameful. These people would choose to do some things during this period of time, such as having sex in the car or trading something that could not be exposed to the public. Du Yufeng directly ordered people to block the 2 passages leading to the garage on the 2nd floor with police cars. In this way, the guy inside really couldn't escape. After all the preparations were completed, Du Yufeng led Zhang Yuanjun and the others to sneak into the garage on the 2nd floor of the mall. He had also found someone to communicate with the mall in advance, asking them to open as usual, but slightly later, and not to turn off the lights in the parking lot. But first, he arranged for someone to lock the emergency stairs in the parking lot and temporarily shut down the elevators to prevent the suspect from entering the mall. Du Yufeng completely believed that he could become a god with this battle. He didn't believe that anyone could escape from such a situation. After being a police officer for so many years, he had arrested many people, but this was the first time he was so confident. As the leader of an armed mercenary group who had been through war for years, he must have an extraordinary 6th sense. Vulture had already begun to feel the presence of danger, but Du Yufeng had prepared too quickly. He did not give Vulture a chance to react at all. Instead, he had performed a good show of closing the door and beating the dog. When Vulture realized that he seemed to be in trouble, the Suong police had already narrowed the circle of encirclement to this floor of the garage. The person in the white CRV, listen up. You have been surrounded by the police. Hand over the hostage in your hands, and don't make any unnecessary resistance or struggle. Du Yufeng turned on the loudspeaker in his hand and prepared to negotiate. The other party still had a hostage, and this was a dangerous factor that he had to consider. Vulture inhaled a breath of cold air. He didn't expect this group of Huaxia police to have such a keen sense of smell. He had just arrived at this place not long ago, and he was already caught. This feeling of defeat made Vulture very unhappy. Fine, since you have forced me into a corner, I'll play a little harder with you. Those who survived the war wouldn't have anything to fear in this situation. Back then, when Vulture was surrounded by a group of people who wanted to pull out his tendons and skin him alive, his heart was beating faster than this situation. He understood the Huaxia police. Even if the police in Huaxia had guns, they wouldn't simply shoot and hurt people. They had to be clear about where the bullets were fired. They were definitely not as open as the Americans, where there could be a shootout between police and bandits on the side of the road. Therefore, Vulture even opened the car door and walked out fearlessly. Are you talking about me? I'm sorry, I don't know which Huaxia law I violated. Did I commit a crime? Why are you arresting me? Stop pretending. If you can understand Huaxia language, then I don't need to talk nonsense with you. Du Yufeng said, you better think about your current situation. You have been surrounded. This is Huaxia, and no one is allowed to mess around. You have already violated Huaxia's law. Of course, you also have the right to remain silent. When you come back with us, we will list out all the evidence. What you need to do now is to hand over the hostages and ensure their safety. Otherwise what? You can still shoot me to death? Vulture said disapprovingly, the people in the car are my friends. They don't want to talk to you. Even if you are the police and we are ordinary people, you don't have the right to interfere with our personal lives, right? Du Yufeng negotiated with Vulture while using his eyes and hand gestures to signal Zhang Yuanjun to bring people to surround them. Vulture, of course, noticed this small movement. Sir, before the situation is clear, if you want to make a move, I will carry out legitimate self-defense. Don't think that just because I'm a foreigner, you can do whatever you want. Let me tell you, you know that you are a foreigner, right? Assaulting a police officer in Huaxia is a serious crime. You better think carefully. Otherwise, I dare to sentence you to 8 to 10 years. I will let you sit in Huaxia for the rest of your life. Du Yufeng said, you better not act rashly. Bullets don't have eyes. If they really hurt you, you can't blame us. Vulture had already prepared for everything. As long as the other party dared to make a move on him, he didn't care about whether he had attacked the police or not. Since he had already come this far, he absolutely couldn't let a few policemen destroy his dream. At this moment, Zhang Yuanjun seized the moment when Vulture was distracted and waved his hand. 4 or 5 of his brothers followed him and swarmed forward, trying to take down this guy in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, they underestimated Vulture's ability. Vulture quickly moved and dodged the first 2 policemen's grasp with a speed that ordinary people couldn't match. Following that, a flying kick landed on Zhang Yuanjun's chest. Vulture, of course, understood the principle of taking down the leader first. Zhang Yuanjun was obviously the commander of the battle. If he crippled this person, the other policeman would have no leader and there would be nothing for him to be afraid of. With just one kick, Zhang Yuanjun, who was 180 kilograms, was sent flying 7 to 8 meters away. While everyone was still in shock, Vulture directly flipped another person over and punched him in the chest, directly knocking him down. The rest of the policemen saw that they couldn't control the situation and could only quickly retreat. After all, they were more worried about Zhang Yuanjun's situation now. Zhang Yuanjun and the policeman who had been sent flying stood up shakily. Following that, The two of them spat out a mouthful of pus and blood one after the other. What a strong punch and kick! Chapter 1791. Vulture's ruthlessness really shocked everyone. Du Yufeng immediately realized that this guy was not simple. Under his orders, the rest of the criminal police team took out their guns, directly pushed the safety off, and aimed the muzzles at Vulture. Vulture's reaction was also quite fast. He took a step back and hid next to the car. Zhang Yuanjun endured the pain in his chest and spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood. He really felt like he was going to die from the kick just now. This guy's strength was simply not something a human could produce. If he had to describe how he felt at this moment, he really wanted to say that he felt like he had been stomped on by an elephant in the chest. Zhang Yuanjun suspected that the bones in his chest were directly broken by this guy's kick. It was so painful that he could not even lift his left arm. He could only use his right hand to take out the pistol at his waist. However, when he aimed, he could not control the weak trembling of his wrist. The brother who was attacked by Vulture like Zhang Yuanjun seemed to be in a worse condition than him. Before he could stand firm, he held his abdomen and knelt on the ground. It was likely that his ribs were broken and it was difficult for him to stand. If his ribs were broken and he moved around, his body would be easily pierced by the broken bones. If you want to shoot, think carefully. This car has your so-called hostage. Bullets don't have eyes. If you hurt your so-called hostage, I'm afraid you won't be able to keep your official's hat, right? Vulture sneered at Du Yufeng. If you want to force me, I will definitely fight to the death with you. Why don't we both take a step back and make things easier for each other? I won't be in trouble, and naturally I won't cause trouble for you. Du Yufeng trembled with anger. This guy actually dared to threaten him like this. Does he really want to die? Good. Since this guy is so heartless, then don't blame me for being unjust. Du Yufeng did not believe in fighting to the death. My net is strong. I want to see if a dead fish like you can break it for me. Ha, police officer, don't be too confident. Vulture's eyes flashed with a cold light. Since they wanted to play hardball with him, he had no choice but to go all out. No matter what, protecting himself was the most important thing. At this moment, Vulture suddenly fell to the ground and rolled under the car. The tires of the SUV were one size bigger, and the distance between the car and the ground seemed to have been increased. Therefore, the Vulture could easily get under the car. When he rolled out from the other side of the car, he had two heavy weapons in his hands. Du Yufeng was almost dumbfounded. Compared to the Type 92 pistol of the criminal police unit, the one in Vulture's hand was definitely a heavy weapon. Vulture held a farmer's assault rifle in his right hand and a QBZ-95 in his left. The farmer's was the world's first non-buttressed assault small-caliber rifle. It had been tested in the Chad War and the Gulf War. Its performance was excellent, and it was definitely a good rifle that had a good reputation. The QBZ-95 was also a good gun. The recoil of the 5.8mm bullet was very small, and the gun's dynamic characteristics were very stable. When firing, the gun vibrated very little. Its overall performance was not bad. It was loaded in large quantities, and the gun was short and easy to carry. Presumably, these were all things that Vulture had prepared when he came to Huaxia. He hid the gun under the car as a backup, but now the situation was critical. He was already surrounded. Vulture did not care if he would cause a big commotion. His goal was very clear. He had to act now and deal with the policemen surrounding him. Then, he would take the people in the car and leave Huaxia. First, he would bring the Zixihoya people out. As for Pa Bo Yu, even if he had to return to Huaxia 100 times, he would find him. Vulture and the Huaxia policemen were different. The bullets fired by the Huaxia policemen in their lifetime might not be as many as the bullets fired by an armed mercenary like Vulture in a day. Just as Vulture took the gun in his hand, a row of bullets were fired. The sound of bullets hitting the car's metal sheet could be heard. The broken glass also fell to the ground. Du Yufeng and all the policemen ducked down and hid. They did not know if Vulture's sudden attack had caused any casualties, but the people who had parked here were really unlucky. There was a dusty Porsche Panamera that had a row of small bullet holes on its side. "Why are you scared so quickly? You have guns too. Come on." Vulture sneered disdainfully. "With just these people, humph, who do they think they are? You want to play with me, right? Then I'll play you to death and let you know what a real warrior is." At this moment, Du Feng's heart was about to jump out. How could he have known that this guy was such a ruthless character? He actually carried an assault rifle with him. Was this King movie? He was only the bureau chief of a small police station. He was not the chief of some Hong Kong Royal Police, nor was he the chief of some Interpol. How could he have encountered such a situation? Du Feng had been a policeman his whole life, but he had never been so flustered. This guy was King crazy. He hid behind the car and looked at Zhang Yuanjun. Zhang Yuanjun was also shocked. As a policeman, they had encountered all kinds of evil people, but today was different. The guy he met today was simply a murderous demon king. He was on a completely different level from the vicious people he had met before. Those people from before, in his eyes, were really nothing. "If you think you haven't played enough, then we'll slowly play with you." Vulture said, "I don't know how many cars here can't withstand my bullets." Any car's fuel tank can cause a small explosion. If you haven't experienced the baptism of war, then don't pretend in front of me. Do you think you can escape if there's an explosion? Although Du Feng was afraid, his mouth was not soft. He did not believe that there was no one who was not afraid of death. What's the big deal about a car explosion? Vulture played it down and said, "I don't care. I'm just me. If I die alone. But what about you? I took a rough look just now. There are about 20 of you. So many people are going with me. I'm really lucky. Oh right, there are still 2 hostages." In fact, Vulture's shooting was not really without a target. He deliberately avoided the car's fuel tank. He was not afraid of this kind of explosion. He was not worried about himself, nor was he afraid of a few policemen dying. He was definitely worried about the safety of the hostages in his hands. Therefore, although Vulture said that, he was definitely not stupid enough to shoot the fuel tank. Du Feng waved his hand to signal Zhang Yuanjun to divert the opponent's attention. At the same time, he quickly dialed a number with his mobile phone. After the call was connected, he lowered his voice and said, "Send special police support. We're in trouble. The other party is alone and has a powerful heavy weapon in his hand. Send reinforcements quickly." Reinforcements. This was the only way Du Feng could think of now. Zhang Yuanjun endured the pain in his heart and shouted, "You'd better not make any unnecessary resistance. No matter what you are now, you'll still admit defeat in the end. Because you can't win against us Huaxia police. At this time, you're still so stubborn. You're really tired of living." Vulture sneered, "Forget it. In that case, I won't be long-winded with you. If you want to catch me, come out. I'm here, waiting for you to make a move." Chapter 1792. Vulture's combat power was quite strong, and he had rich combat experience. No matter how difficult or dangerous the situation was, he always knew what to do at the most critical moment. Perhaps this was the biggest advantage of a mercenary master. Although Zhang Yuanjun had led his criminal police team to solve many big cases, and he also had a bunch of elite soldiers under his command, such as Sanda masters, Taekwondo masters, amateur boxers, and so on, if any of the criminal police in his team didn't have a special characteristic, it would be easy to be laughed at. They all had their own strong points. Unfortunately, their opponent was Vulture, not an ordinary criminal. In front of Vulture, their strength could be said to be nothing. The police who couldn't gain an advantage in fighting wanted to gain an advantage in firepower, but they didn't expect their Type 92 pistols to meet the other party's assault rifle. This was clearly the difference between heaven and earth. Therefore, there was no way to fight this battle. The two sides were not at the same level at all. At this time, Du Yufeng couldn't bring his police and criminal police to fight the other party. That way, the casualties would be very serious. He could only ask the armed special police for support and report the situation in detail. Other than the armed special police, who else could deal with this kind of person? No one could do anything about it. At this time, Du Yufeng had already forgotten about Su Yun. He completely forgot to inform Su Yun about this matter. He also forgot what Chen Wei said when he called him, "Don't bring your people to fight recklessly. If you find the target, inform Su Yun immediately and let him come forward to solve this matter because the situation will be out of your control. Director Du, thank you for your hard work. I thank you for your cooperation. Remember, leave this matter to Su Yun." When Du Yufeng heard this, he thought about one thing. If he left this matter to Su Yun, it was equivalent to giving credit to Su Yun. He felt that Chen Wei of the Qingdao police was too greedy. The criminal had already come to his territory, and he still wanted to take credit for him? It was simply unreasonable. By now, Du Yufeng had probably understood that Chen Wei wasn't trying to steal his credit. Instead, Chen Wei was reminding him not to do something that he couldn't do. Only a fool would do something like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. However, Du Yufeng was already anxious. Even if he understood what Chen Wei meant, he still didn't think of informing Su Yun. Or perhaps, Du Yufeng had realized that he should tell Su Yun about this matter, but because of his face, he couldn't say it. Even if he found the special police to settle this matter, he couldn't let Su Yun come forward to help him out. That seemed to be too embarrassing. Du Yufeng was the one who would rather suffer than lose face. He gritted his teeth and endured it. He had to rely on the ability of the Suong police to take down this vicious criminal. This vulture could be said to be the most ferocious person he had ever encountered in his many years as a police officer. Vulture's arrogance and the police's avoidance formed a sharp contrast. This increased Vulture's momentum. "If you don't dare to come out, then I'll leave. I believe that you must be blocking the police car at the exit, but I hope that you will consider whether your car is thicker or my bullets are harder. Your colleagues who are driving must be sitting in the car. If the bullet pierces through the gas tank, then you can directly taste barbecued human flesh tonight." This guy. Too vicious. Du Yufeng was a little panicked. He quickly used the walkie-talkie to inform the people in the cars to get out of the car and leave. He absolutely couldn't allow any casualties. He had to put an end to it. This was his bottom line. He couldn't watch his own people die on the battlefield that he was commanding. Just as Du Yufeng used the walkie-talkie to inform the others, he suddenly felt that someone suddenly appeared behind him. Yes, this person was Vulture. Vulture said that just to divert their attention. Just as Du Yufeng and the others were worried about how Vulture would break out of the encirclement, Vulture took the opportunity to rush to the back of the car that Du Yufeng was hiding in. The two police officers beside Du Yufeng were no match for Vulture. Vulture's fists and feet landed heavily on the back of their heads and necks. The two police officers immediately fainted on the ground. As for Du Yufeng, he was grabbed by Vulture and strangled by the neck. Just like that, Vulture held Du Yufeng with one hand and used the muzzle of his gun to press against Du Yufeng's chin. Du Yufeng's chin hurt from the muzzle of the gun, but he didn't dare to resist. One had to know that this vicious Vulture's finger was on the trigger. Not to mention shooting on purpose. Even if he accidentally pulled the trigger, Du Yufeng's head would definitely explode in an instant. The head was different from the arms and legs. If the arms and legs were hit by a few bullets, it would only hurt for a few days. At the very least, it would itch when it was cloudy and rainy. At the very worst, it would be crippled. But the head was different. Not to mention a few bullets. One bullet was enough to kill a person. Faced with such a death threat, Du Yufeng was really worthy of being a bureau chief. After panicking, what was left was calmness. He knew that this was the only way to deal with it. "You better not do this. Your actions now don't constitute harming anyone. Once you kill me, you'll be committing murder. In Huaxia, intentional murder is a capital offense." Du Yufeng tried to keep himself calm, but his mind was really in a mess. His logic was a bit messy. If it's a capital offense, no one can save you. When Zhang Yuanjun and the others realized that Du Yufeng was being held hostage by Vulture, no one had any opinions. Du Yufeng was the bureau chief. Since the other party wanted to capture the ringleader first, this move would definitely be effective no matter which side it applied to. With my status, if I surrender today, it's also a capital offense in Huaxia. Vulture sneered. Don't bully me because I don't know the laws of Huaxia. I just want one sentence. Now, get out of my way and get someone to help me drive the car out. All of you, put down your weapons and stay away from me. Otherwise, I'll kill you. You're the officer, give them the order. Du Yufeng shook his head. I don't have the authority to give such an order. Police officer, don't make things difficult for me. If I die no matter what choice I make, I'll definitely bring as many people to die with me as I can. Vulture said viciously. Don't think that I can't do it. I'm really an evil person that you can't imagine. Zhang Yuanjun suddenly stood up and raised his hands. He didn't have any weapons in his hands. I'll exchange with the hostage in your hands. I'm the commander of this operation. You. Vulture smiled disdainfully. Indeed, when so many people attacked him just now, this person was the leader. But to put it bluntly, he was only the leader of a small group. What he wanted was the biggest leader. Forget it. I don't want a low-level official. I want a big leader. After saying that, Vulture used the muzzle of his gun to poke Du Yufeng's chin again. Isn't that right, big leader? You can't be a coward at this time. Hurry up and give me the order. My patience is limited. Du Yufeng swallowed a mouthful of saliva. What should he do now? He couldn't make a decision by himself. Could it be that he had been a police officer for 25 or 26 years, and in the last few years of his career, he was going to die in the line of duty? What would happen to his wife and children then? Thinking of this, Du Yufeng felt a chill in his heart. Chapter 1793. Du Yufeng had never felt such despair in his entire life. Today, he had truly tasted the taste of despair. Merit and life were really proportional. If you want to make a big contribution, you have to do big things. Which big things didn't have risks? Today's matter, if he could take it down, it would be a great contribution. If he couldn't, it would be his death anniversary. Just when Du Yufeng felt that he was powerless to reverse the situation, the SWAT team hurriedly rushed to the scene. The gunshots below had caused a lot of commotion. The SWAT team leader, Li Guangchen, even left a few people in the shopping mall above to help the police communicate with the people above. Speaking of Li Guangchen, he was definitely a capable person who did things in a high-profile way. The achievements of the SWAT team under his leadership were definitely praiseworthy. How could such a dangerous matter not be handed over to Li Guangchen to handle? When the SWAT team's anti-riot vehicle drove into the underground garage, the police cars blocking the road immediately made way for them. Several SWAT vehicles lined up in a row and parked at the entrance of the underground garage. The aura was quite domineering. Even Du Yufeng saw countless rays of light in an instant. Rows of SWAT officers dressed in SWAT uniforms jumped out of the cars in an orderly manner. They lined up in a row. Anti-explosion shields, explosion-proof helmets, all kinds of excellent weapons and equipment. The spearhead was pointed directly at Vulture. However, because Vulture had hostages in his hands and Du Yufeng was still under his control, no one aimed their guns at him. This aura is really strong. Vulture sneered, but he knew very well that they would definitely not dare to shoot at him. In such a small place, shooting would definitely cause accidental injuries. Fortunately, he chose the underground garage. Although it was a bit like a turtle in a jar, this place also had an advantage. There was absolutely no sniper in the underground garage, so Vulture was relieved of the biggest threat. Snipers with great long-range killing power were the most terrifying. If there were only these SWAT officers, Vulture wouldn't be at a disadvantage with the hostages in his hands. At this time, Li Guangchen finally got out of the car. As he observed the situation, he quickly analyzed the other party's strength. When Li Guangchen saw the weapon in the other party's hand, he realized that the other party definitely did not come with good intentions. To be able to hold such a weapon in one hand without any difficulty, he must have experienced war. There were only a few types of people who had experienced war. They were soldiers in countries that liked to fight, soldiers in foreign legions, or armed mercenaries. Generally speaking, someone who could wield a gun with both hands and be so professional and fearless in the face of danger should be a mercenary. Official soldiers were generally used to using only one type of gun. Their training was particularly strict, unlike unorthodox mercenaries who could wield two different types of assault rifles in each hand and play with them so well. Armed mercenaries, Li Guangchen said coldly. He was wearing a bulletproof vest, but he did not wear a helmet. When Vulture heard this, he was stunned and smiled slightly. Good eyesight. Since you're an armed mercenary, I'm afraid you've come to the wrong place. Our Huaxia is a stable and harmonious society. Mercenaries won't be able to make a living in Huaxia. Li Guangchen said, you should go to those countries and regions that are in turmoil to find a living. The corner of Vulture's mouth raised slightly. I didn't come to Huaxia to make a living. I'll repeat what I said just now. Get out of my way and arrange for someone to drive my car out. Otherwise, I'll kill him. Have you not seen the situation clearly? Li Guangchen said, do you think you have the courage to speak like this in front of so many people? You were a mercenary before. In this case, your chances of winning are probably very low, right? I don't want any victory. Vulture said, if you don't do as I say, you'll pay a heavy price. We'll pay a heavy price. This is what we should pay. Because this is what we do. In order to protect the lives and property of the people, we don't hesitate to pay a heavy price. Li Guangchen was still very calm. But you're different. What can you pay? If you die, it'll be over. You won't be able to get anything you want. Vulture's face twitched. This fellow actually wants to play a psychological game with me. Fine. Let's see who can outplay the other. Without saying anything, Vulture suddenly placed the muzzle of his other gun on Du Yufeng's thigh. Without hesitation, he pulled the trigger. The sound of a bullet being fired rang out and it directly pierced through Du Yufeng's calf. Blood spurted out and soaked Du Yufeng's pants. The whole process happened too quickly. Du Yufeng himself did not expect this fellow to be so ruthless. The pain from his thigh was almost unbearable. This was the first time he had been shot. He did not expect the pain of the bullet piercing through his skin and muscles to be so unbearable. But as a man, as the leader of the Huaxia police force, he, Du Yufeng, could not make a sound no matter how painful it was. If he cried out, it would be a disgrace to Huaxia's reputation as a man of iron. That would be a disgrace to the Huaxia police force. Seeing Du Yufeng's forehead dripping with sweat but not making a sound, Li Guangchen, who was not particularly pleased with Du Yufeng, could not help but admire him. In the past, Li Guangchen thought that Du Yufeng was the kind of leader who did not put his heart into his work. Most of the time, he looked like he was just fooling around. He did not expect him to be able to withstand it at a critical moment. Not simple. Vulture was obviously a little disappointed because he was prepared to listen to the other party's painful cries. But this fellow clenched his teeth and did not make a sound. What a good man. Not simple at all. But Vulture was definitely not to be trifled with. He suddenly raised the gun in his hand and fired in the direction of the SWAT team. Fortunately, the SWAT team had already put up their explosion-proof shields. The sound of bullets hitting the shields could be heard. Li Guangchen also quickly lowered his body and hid himself behind the explosion-proof shield. The other party was really vicious. He opened fire without saying a word. He was treating Huaxia as the United States. The members of the SWAT team were also a little nervous. None of them had thought that they would encounter such a tough nut to crack. This person was really too ruthless and terrifying. If there was no explosion-proof shield, how many people would be shot? The consequences were simply unimaginable. After the SWAT team arrived, Zhang Yuanjun led his criminal police team to hide tightly. He wanted to wait for an opportunity, an opportunity when the other party was unprepared. Then, he would save Chief Du. As for subduing the murderer, he would leave it to the SWAT team. But no accident could happen to Chief Du. Vulture was very arrogant. As long as he had Du Yufeng in his hands, regardless of whether it was the criminal police or the SWAT team, they would not dare to use weapons. And he could arrogantly shoot at the other party. Very quickly, he completely provoked Li Guangchen's anger. But Li Guangchen could not do anything. He had to worry about Du Yufeng's safety. Suddenly, Du Yufeng opened his mouth and roared, "Don't worry about me. I can't care so much." In everyone's ears, this was undoubtedly the rhythm of seeking death. But even if Du Yufeng wanted to die, could it really solve the problem? Even if he wanted to die, it would not change the fact that Vulture was very powerful. Just as Du Yufeng was roaring, Vulture suddenly rushed to the SWAT team's line of defense. Under the eyes of so many people, he broke the explosion-proof shield with one kick. The SWAT team behind him was also sent flying a few meters away and directly fell to the ground. Li Guangchen was stunned. Was this a human? The explosion-proof shield that could not be broken by bullets was actually broken by one kick. Chapter 1794. Li Guangchen couldn't help but be impressed by Vulture's kick. No wonder this guy was so fearless. As expected, he was bold because he was skilled. He was fearless in the face of these special police officers. He didn't think they could threaten him at all. That was why he could be so arrogant. Vulture sneered. "I'm afraid you can't stop me. Officers, I didn't come to Huaxia to cause trouble. You really don't have to cause trouble for yourselves. There's a saying in Huaxia, take a step back and you'll see the world. Why don't we each take a step back? I promise you that I'll leave Huaxia as soon as possible. You also promise me that I'll be able to leave Suong safely. I don't think my request is too much, right? Don't forget, I still have a life in my hands." Du Yufeng was still under Vulture's control. His thigh, which had been pierced by the bullet, was bleeding profusely. Du Yufeng could only clench his teeth and force himself to stop. He did not know how much blood he had lost, but he could clearly feel that his injured leg was gradually losing consciousness. This was a sign of excessive blood loss. If he didn't solve Vulture's problem early, Du Yufeng was really worried that he would bleed to death. If he died like this, it would be meaningless. Who didn't die since ancient times? Some were heavier than Mount Tai, and some were lighter than a goose feather. If Du Yufeng had to choose, he would definitely choose the former. Judging from Du Yufeng's competitiveness and desire for credit from the very beginning, it wasn't hard to see that he was a person who absolutely cared about face. When danger was unavoidable, when he couldn't choose how to live, of course, he would choose a way to die that would be praised by the world. Du Yufeng suddenly reached out and reined Vulture in. He roared, "Go! Take him down!" Du Yufeng's voice really shocked the people at the scene. His body was under the gun of the criminal. As long as the criminal's finger clenched, Du Yufeng would die. Du Yufeng was simply using his own life as a joke. Vulture really had the urge to strangle the person in front of him to death. This was an unscrupulous provocation. Didn't he know that his life was in his hands? As long as he made a small gesture, he would be able to crush him to death without any effort at all. Go! As the captain of the SWAT team, Li Guangchen naturally knew how to seize the opportunity to deal with such a vicious person. At this time, if he couldn't subdue the other party in a short time, the instigation effect that Du Yufeng was looking forward to would lose its meaning. Now that Du Yufeng had taken the lead and encouraged them with his fearless spirit, everyone was naturally fearless. Just as Li Guangchen was giving orders to his SWAT team, Zhang Yuanjun was also giving orders to surround the weak side. Even if he had to take the risk of being shot by a bullet, he had to save Du Yufeng. Vulture had never imagined that these people would actually fight with their lives on the line. Although he was very capable, he had to consider the degree of threat. Even if these were ordinary people, they had guns in their hands, especially the weapons of the special forces, which were very good. If a few rounds of bullets really came over, he would be forced into a desperate situation if he was hit. However, the experienced Vulture would not allow himself to be captured just like that. He suddenly flung Du Yufeng's body away. He directly hit the side of the criminal police who were rushing to save him. This was a kind of psychological warfare. When the criminal police got what they wanted, they would naturally have the mentality of retreating. After all, the following matters could be left to the SWAT team. Vulture's approach was indeed very effective. As soon as Zhang Yuanjun rescued Du Yufeng, he immediately ordered someone to take Du Yufeng to hide behind a car cover. There were so many guns on the other side. He also had to consider not to be injured by his own people. Without any worries, Vulture instantly let go of his hands and feet. When the criminal police behind him were no longer involved, he didn't have to worry about someone shooting him in the back. Vulture's figure was like a ghost that entered the SWAT team. Gunshots were heard everywhere, but the screams seemed to be from his own people. Li Guangchun was scared, really scared. He had been leading the SWAT team for so long. This was the most dangerous person he had encountered. When the opponent killed his way into his formation, he knew that trouble was coming. When this ferocious guy rushed in, their own people had no way to shoot at all. The opponent was himself. As long as the muzzle was not pointed at him, he could pull the trigger and hit someone else. However, his brothers in the SWAT team couldn't do that. Their target was only one person, and the surrounding people were all their own people. How could they shoot? When someone tried to shoot at the opponent, they often hit their own people. Therefore, after a few gunshots, Li Guangchun roared for everyone to put on the safety of their guns. No one was to shoot randomly. This way, Vulture could go on a killing spree without a care in the world. It was as if he was chopping vegetables. In just 1 minute, more than 10 SWAT team members in riot gear were sent flying with a kick. Vulture was like a god of death, slaughtering his way through the crowd and turning the tide. So many SWAT team members were helpless against him. Li Guangchun's skills were considered very good. At least in the Suong police world, he was definitely one of the best. However, the moment Li Guangchun and Vulture exchanged blows, their arms collided. Li Guangchun felt like he had hit a steel bar, and his entire arm instantly went numb. What kind of strength was his opponent? This was not a strength that a normal human could have. Vulture's fist hit Li Guangchun's lower abdomen, and Li Guangchun's body flew 2 to 3 meters into the air. He spat out a mouthful of acid with a twisted expression and fell to the ground. He couldn't tell how many of his ribs were broken by this punch, but he knew very well that he had no strength to stand up and fight again. Vulture's goal was very clear, and that was to deal with the commander first. He rushed forward and raised his leg, wanting to kick Li Guangchun away. With this kick, a tough guy like Li Guangchun from the SWAT team would probably lose half his life. However, at this critical moment, a gust of wind blew and a figure flashed to Vulture's side. Before Vulture could react, the wind from the punch was like a meteor, and it smashed into Vulture's face. Vulture, who was killing in all directions, was sent flying just like that. He landed heavily on the concrete floor 6 to 7 meters away, and a layer of dust rose. Vulture also coughed twice from the impact. What a heavy punch! Vulture stood up with lingering fear and said in his heart. After all, he had been in the mercenary world for so many years. Other than One-Eyed Wen Zhao's punch, this was definitely the heaviest punch he had ever taken. What kind of demon was his opponent? How could he have such strength? This scene also stunned the special police at the scene. It was too domineering. Du Yufeng, Zhang Yuanjun, and the others also focused their attention on this savior. In an instant, Du Yufeng suddenly thought of Chen Wei's words. Yes, he really shouldn't have acted on his own. Presumably, Chen Wei wasn't trying to steal the credit, but was really reminding him. Su Yun twisted his neck and made a cracking sound. You must be Vulture. Hee, I thought that you foreign mercenaries were all men of flesh and blood. Today, I see that you're just a bunch of cowards who only know how to bully the weak. Weak. Li Guangchun obviously didn't feel good when he heard this, but when he thought about it, compared to Vulture, he was really **King weakling. The world was too big, and there was always someone better than you. Chapter 1795. The special police vehicle that Su Yun encountered on the road just now was the special police led by Li Guangchen. After Su Yun followed along the road, the police were evacuating the crowd. At this time, the gunshots in the underground garage also made Su Yun instantly alert. This was the downtown area. If someone carried a gun, it would bring considerable harm. After the gunshots, Su Yun also recognized that it was the sound of an assault rifle bullet. Obviously, the guy inside was really dangerous and not simple. After all, even if there were guns in Huaxia, they were all imitation 54 pistols and the like. There were not many military assault rifles. So even if there were so many special police officers, the danger of the mission could really be said to be quite difficult. Su Yun couldn't sit back and do nothing when encountering this kind of thing. In the current situation, the police wouldn't let anyone enter the underground garage of the mall. After all, this matter was too dangerous. The police didn't know Su Yun, so naturally, they wouldn't let a guy who suddenly appeared casually enter such a dangerous place. After Su Yun stopped the car, he found an opportunity to sneak in when the police weren't prepared. At this time, the situation inside was already one-sided. Obviously, the special police officers were no match for the other party at all. Immediately afterward, Su Yun saw Du Yufeng and the white Honda CR-V in the corner of the underground parking garage. Su Yun understood on the spot that Du Yufeng had already found the suspect vehicle through the clues he had given him. Moreover, he had immediately brought people to arrest the suspect. However, he did not realize that the opponent's strength was so terrifying. Therefore, he had suffered a great loss and requested the support of the special police. This guy. Su Yun was really speechless. In order to compete for credit, he didn't even inform him that he had found a suspicious target. He was so reckless and wanted to arrest people. He was really capricious. Su Yun, who was observant of course, also noticed that Du Yufeng's leg was injured by a bullet. He thought that it was reasonable to let this guy suffer a little. Judging from this person's outfit, Su Yun could be 100% sure that this guy was Vulture without thinking. He didn't expect this guy to be so bold. There were so many police officers in Suong investigating the case at the cemetery, but he still dared to run to the city. However, after careful analysis, it wasn't wrong. If it were Su Yun would have done the same. Because a crowded place would increase the degree of safety. Unfortunately, this guy miscalculated. He didn't manage to kill the reservoir manager with his neck break. He only managed to cure the manager of the reservoir. Someone even took a picture of the car with their mobile phone. Otherwise, if he were to hide in this place, it would not be easy for others to detect him. Li Guangchen was no match for Vulture at all. At this critical moment, Su Yun had no choice but to save him. Otherwise, Li Guangchen would really be crippled. Seeing that Vulture's kick was about to take Li Guangchen's life, Su Yun struck out like a bolt of lightning, sending Vulture flying with a heavy punch. Li Guangchen, who was rescued, was stunned for a long time. Who was this fiend that suddenly jumped out? Vulture spat out a mouthful of blood. What a heavy punch! He had been monitoring one eye in Qingdao for so long. Of course, he had an impression of Su Yun, and it wasn't just a slight impression. He had a very deep impression of Su Yun. Su Yun was the guy who could withstand One Eye's inner demon's outburst. In their small group, he was the leader. Even One-Eyed was respectful and reverent towards this fellow. Clearly, this young man called Su Yun was absolutely not simple. Su Yun. Hee, I knew you would definitely come looking for me. I just didn't expect you to come so quickly. The corner of Vulture's mouth curled up slightly. As expected of the person that One-Eyed calls Big Brother. You have some ability. Su Yun didn't have time to chat with him. He glanced at the white Honda CR-V. There was a figure inside. He felt relieved. If the person in the car loses a single hair, I will make you regret being born in this world. Young man, don't be so arrogant. Although Vulture had been in a chaotic battle just now, the 2 assault rifles at his waist had not been thrown away. He did not feel that he was at a disadvantage. If you want the people in the car, we'll have to see if you have the ability to do so. When Du Yufeng saw Su Yun appear, besides being worried for him, he was also very ashamed and embarrassed. After all, if he had told Su Yun about this matter in the first place, maybe such trouble wouldn't have happened, and he wouldn't have been injured. Su Yun, you have to be careful. He has a gun in his hand. Because of shame, Du Yufeng didn't care whether he would anger Vulture, who was not far from his hiding place. He got up and reminded Su Yun, "Don't be careless. You must be careful." Although Du Yufeng liked to steal the limelight, it had to be said that this guy was still very responsible. At least in the face of such danger, he didn't run away. Instead, he threw himself to the front line. As a leader, he had done enough. There was another reason why Su Yun didn't dislike Du Yufeng. Du Yufeng's leg was penetrated by a bullet, but he still gritted his teeth and stood up to remind him. He didn't cry and make a fuss about going to the hospital. This showed that this guy was a tough guy, not a softie. As long as he was a tough guy, he was a man with backbone. Even if such a person had some tricks up his sleeve, Su Yun wouldn't mind. "Director Du, let Captain Zhang take care of your wound. Don't worry about the rest." Su Yun smiled slightly. "I don't believe that a foreign mercenary can play any tricks on our land in Huaxia." The muscles on Vulture's face trembled. Su Yun, this guy, was really not likable. His words and tone were so harsh. When Vulture felt that these words were harsh, it meant that he was guilty. Of course, he couldn't admit that he was guilty, but the truth was the truth. Facing a guy who attacked so fast that he didn't even have the chance to react and block, facing a guy who could convince one eye, how much chance did Vulture have of winning? After careful calculation, Vulture really didn't have much of a chance of winning. Vulture's only confidence should be that Su Yun was just an opponent who had just recovered from a serious injury. This was the only thing he thought he still had a chance of winning. "Sir, your reinforcements are so smart. They must have found out about the weapons on me before you did." Vulture sneered. "You don't need to remind him of these things." At this moment, Su Yun suddenly shouted, "Be careful! Everyone take cover!" At this moment, Vulture suddenly pulled out the 2 assault rifles hanging from his waist. Pulling the triggers, accompanied by the sound of gunfire and the sound of gunfire, the bullets swept directly towards Su Yun and the other special forces. Facing Vulture's crazy shooting, Su Yun could only quickly find cover. After receiving Su Yun's warning, the special forces all picked up their anti-explosion shields to protect themselves. Du Yufeng was also pulled behind the car by Zhang Yuanjun. The sound of bullets colliding with the anti-explosion shields and the car was like a symphony of death. At this moment, if anyone was careless, their head might just explode. Even Su Yun didn't dare to play with Vulture like this. Vulture skillfully reloaded the 2 magazines. His method of reloading was very special. One of the guns was still firing, while the other was already reloading with one hand. This rotation method allowed the 2 assault rifles in his hands to be in a constant state of firing, which bought him a lot of time. When Su Yun hid behind a car, he heard the sound of metal rubbing against the ground coming from under the car. A Type 03 automatic rifle appeared in front of Su Yun, followed by 2 magazines. Su Yun bent down under the car to look. Li Guangchen looked at him with a look of trust and determination, and made a gesture to surround him. Su Yun smiled faintly and replied with a "understood" gesture. This was a gesture that only Special Forces people would understand. Clearly, Li Guangchen's actions just now had exposed his identity as a Special Forces person. Perhaps when Su Yun first appeared, Li Guangchen already knew of Su Yun's special identity. Therefore, he used that gesture just now to confirm his judgment. Chapter 1796. Su Yun's response told Li Guangchen that his judgment was correct. This caused Li Guangchen to feel a surge of warmth in his heart. He was excited not only because there was hope for today's matter to be resolved, but also because Su Yun's appearance had stirred up the memories of his past. Li Guangchen used to be the sharp knife scout of the famous Nighthawk scout team in the country. His skills were definitely one of the best. The Nighthawk scout team that he used to live in had always achieved very impressive results in the international scout competition. Their Nighthawk reconnaissance team was also the only independent reconnaissance team in the country. Every year, Hua Xia's special forces would come to their team to select candidates. Those who were selected would be able to become a true special force. Yes, a special force like Su Yun's Dragon Brigade. Li Guangchun's dream back then was to have the opportunity to become a stronger warrior. However, reality was cruel. The selection process for the special forces was so strict and harsh that even the scouts who thought that they had suffered all the hardships in the world were speechless. In the best 3 years of his youth, Li Guangchun had been continuously eliminated. He really used up the last of his strength and broke through the final limits of his body. However, he was still unable to meet the requirements for the Special Forces selection. Usually, he was someone who could easily run tens of kilometers with a 100-kilogram backpack on his back. However, when faced with the Special Forces selection, he failed. Back then, Li Guangchun had a lot of resentment in his heart because of the successive failures. He even thought that this was a joke. He did not believe that anyone would set such harsh conditions. This couldn't even be described as terrifying. It was simply incomprehensible. However, when Li Guangchun decided to continue participating in the Special Forces selection in the 4th year, he was injured. It was an injury that would be devastating to a normal person. His cruciate ligament had ruptured under excessive training. It was this rupture that caused him to lose the right to participate in the Special Forces selection. This was because they said that if he could rupture his cruciate ligament even with such a little training intensity, then he was definitely not suitable to go to their side. This was because their training intensity was 10 times, or even 100 times more than theirs. With his body's endurance, going there would only cause all the ligaments in his body to tear. These words definitely hurt Li Guangchun's heart. Li Guangchun was also disheartened for a long time because of this matter. When he recovered from his injuries, he began to train crazily, causing his ligaments to tear habitually. Now, his career as a scout was over. However, he was a capable person, so he was arranged to be the captain of the special police team in Suong. Under his leadership, the special police team was definitely thriving. It could be said that as long as the special police team led by Li Guangchun appeared in Suhang, there was no problem that could not be solved. Just based on this point, Li Guangchun was also famous in Suong for being a powerful guy. However, Li Guangchun had always been brooding over the fact that he had retired from the military. It could even be said that it was only today when he saw Su Yun's skills that he believed that his recruitment back then was not done on purpose to make things difficult for him. To be honest, perhaps he really did not have the talent. The overwhelming strength that Su Yun displayed today gave Li Guangchun a new understanding of all of this. Li Guangchun had more or less been exposed to the training and basic knowledge of the special forces, so he and Su Yun did not have any difficulty communicating with hand signals. His 3 years of experience was really precious to him. After the two of them communicated with hand signals, Li Guangchun even forgot about the pain in his lower abdomen. He could no longer care about whether or not he had broken a few ribs. What he needed to do now was to help Su Yun attract Vulture's attention. Vulture was now trying to determine where Su Yun was hiding. If Su Yun did anything that caught his attention, he did not even need to aim at Su Yun. He only needed to shoot through the fuel tank of the car that Su Yun was hiding in. That would be enough to make Su Yun suffer. At the very least, he would be blown away by the explosion. Therefore, Li Guangchun had to attract Vulture's attention and give Su Yun enough time to find a breakthrough point. Only then could they get rid of the dangerous cover that was the car. Now that Su Yun also had a gun in his hand, if he forced Vulture to hide behind the car, he would lose the advantage of the car explosion. This was because if he did that, the car he was hiding in would immediately be blown up by the bullets. Li Guangchun knocked the ground twice with the butt of his rifle to give Su Yun a reminder. Then, he immediately started shooting at Vulture. Da. Vulture was also alerted by the sound of the gun but hitting the ground, so he quickly dodged Li Guangchun's attack. He was very disdainful. With his skills, once he sensed danger, it was not difficult for him to dodge a few bullets. After all, the baptism of war over the years had made Vulture very sensitive. However, Vulture did not expect that Li Guangchen would not kill him at all when he opened fire. He was just trying to give Su Yun a chance to escape. Just as Vulture dodged the attack, Su Yun suddenly jumped out. Vulture realized that when Su Yun appeared, he had already lost the opportunity. The moment Su Yun jumped out, she had already aimed her gun at Vulture. Vulture also reacted immediately and aimed at Su Yun. The two of them pulled the trigger and fired at almost the same time. Then, in order to avoid the bullets, they rolled and jumped at the same time. The two bullets whizzed through the air and made a loud explosion when they collided. The sparks that appeared out of nowhere also proved the miracle just now. The probability of two bullets colliding was very low, so it was really a miracle just now. Otherwise, it was believed that it would be impossible for two people who only reacted after pulling the trigger to dodge the bullets. Soon, the two got up at the same time, and the muzzles were still aimed at each other. For a moment, the whole world seemed to be quiet. "Why? Do you want to die with me?" Su Yun sneered. "I don't mind. In Huaxia, when I was shot, someone would save me, but I'm afraid no one would care about you, right? In this case, I'm afraid there is no need for us to fight like this, right?" Vulture smiled. "I really want to see your strength. Instead of both of us suffering, why don't we see who is better? What do you think?" Su Yun certainly knew what Vulture was thinking. Vulture also knew that pulling the trigger now would not benefit him at all. He would lose his last chance. Su Yun also did not want to let him die so easily. Besides, he was taking too big a risk. He still wanted to capture this guy alive and bring him back for Wen Xiao to see. "How you want to solve this? Then I will accompany you," Su Yun said. "However, we need to make a bet first, right? I'm afraid you can't afford to lose." "My bet is very simple, the people in the car," Vulture said. "If you win, you can take them away. It's that simple. But what if you lose? I'm afraid your bet is not only the people in the car, but also your own life." "My bet is also my life." Su Yun's eyes narrowed, and a trace of hostility leaked out. Since the last time he suppressed his inner demon, this was the first time he was angry. There was a strange feeling in his heart. Vulture's fierce face trembled. "Then your bet is not only your life, but also the lives of these bastard police officers." This was called psychological warfare. People who had experienced life and death battles knew this. The bigger the bet a person was carrying, the greater the psychological pressure they would feel. This was because their death would directly lead to more serious casualties. That was why they increased the stakes for each other. Chapter 1797. At this time, it all depended on who had the stronger ability to withstand pressure. On the surface, Su Yun not only had to bear the pressure of Guagua and Chou Yun's safety, but he also had to bear the pressure of the lives of the police officers. He had to bear more pressure than Vulture. However, if one thought about it carefully, that was not the case. In fact, Vulture was bearing more pressure because of his ambition. If he lost, it would be equivalent to losing the whole world. In his heart, the importance of winning was very obvious. Under the huge pressure, Vulture's palms were sweating. He was facing Su Yun, an opponent who he had never fought before. Obviously, he did not have the confidence to win. After all, they did not know each other. Vulture knew nothing about Su Yun's moves, weapons, and everything else. It was natural for him to be worried. Of course, if he thought about it from another perspective, Su Yun was also fighting with him for the first time. He also did not have any advantage. This made Vulture feel a little better. In fact, he would be cautious and nervous. Su Yun would also be cautious and nervous. Everyone was facing the same problem. Thinking of this, Vulture's mood more or less calmed down. At this time, Su Yun had already begun to signal to throw away the gun. There would not be such a situation between masters. If they changed their minds on how to solve the problem, it would only mean that they did not deserve to be masters of the underground world. At best, they were just small gangsters. Su Yun still believed in Vulture. No matter what, If he was able to become the leader of an armed mercenary group, he would follow the basic moral principles. A person who fired a gun from the back could not become the leader of an armed mercenary group. This was something that Su Yun was very sure of. When Su Yun signaled to throw away the weapon, Vulture also slowly raised the weapon in his hand. The two of them threw their weapons to the ground almost at the same time and kicked the weapons in their hands to the bottom of the car. Now that both of them were unarmed, Su Yun preferred this kind of situation. Without guns, the situation was much safer for the others. Du Yufeng couldn't understand Su Yun's behavior. He was puzzled. If Su Yun didn't throw away the weapon in his hand and trick that guy, they could have directly surrounded that guy with guns. But what about now? Even if they wanted to surround him, he would immediately make a move on Su Yun. Once the two of them moved, the guns in the hands of the special forces would become decorations. Who would dare to shoot? What if they accidentally injured Su Yun? If he accidentally injured Su Yun, then he would be in big trouble. However, the subsequent collision between Su Yun and Vulture made Du Yufeng throw away his thoughts. This was because what he saw in front of him was something he would never dare to believe in his entire life. Su Yun and Vulture suddenly attacked at the same time. The collision between the two of them was like two bolts of lightning. Du Yufeng didn't see what happened at all. He only saw the two of them flickering in front of him. Su Yun and Vulture had already exchanged countless moves in the rapid collision. Every move was hair-raising and life-threatening. Su Yun's powerful strength and fast speed quickly made Vulture suffer. Although Vulture had been defending carefully at every step, he was still hit twice by Su Yun. Su Yun's punches were fierce. If it wasn't for Vulture's body of steel that had been honed on the battlefield, he might have really been thrown to the ground by Su Yun. After suffering continuously, Vulture knew that he had to use his strength. Otherwise, he would definitely lose the entire world. Just as Su Yun found a loophole in Vulture's defense and the wind from his punches tore through his defense, Vulture pulled the trigger on his wrist. The sharp blade that he had been hiding in his sleeve all this time suddenly came out. Fortunately, Su Yun reacted in time. He suddenly stopped and flipped backward to avoid Vulture's crazy steel blade. Vulture was stunned. Impossible. His attack just now was so sudden. Why did Su Yun seem to have been prepared for it? Why did Su Yun know that he was dangerous? This was really thanks to Lin Ji's investigation from Wan Xiao. Vulture's lethal weapon was hidden in his sleeve. It was a steel blade that was like Wolverine. Therefore, when Su Yun fought with Vulture at the beginning and Vulture didn't use his weapon, Su Yun concluded that he wanted to catch him off guard. This was because only when he caught his opponent off guard could his sharp blade deal the most damage. If he wasn't careful, it was very likely that he would die under Vulture's sharp blade. Therefore, Su Yun had been paying attention to this since the beginning of the fight with Vulture. When Vulture made such a big mistake this time, Su Yun had already realized that there was definitely a trap. However, in order to make Vulture release his sharp blade, Su Yun took the risk and pretended to be tricked. As expected, Vulture took the opportunity to kill Su Yun in one blow. Fortunately, Su Yun reacted in time and quickly dodged Vulture's attack. Otherwise, his head would have been directly pierced by Vulture's sharp blade. Vulture's mouth twitched. You know my weapon. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Do you need me to teach you such a simple principle? Oh right, you're not from Hua Xia. This is the essence of the wisdom of Hua Xia's ancestors. How can you understand it? Su Yun smiled slightly. I just didn't expect you to be so dangerous. The muscles on Vulture's face twitched. You didn't use your full strength just now? Su Yun obviously didn't use his full strength. Just now, most of Su Yun's attention was on guarding against Vulture's weapon. Therefore, his seemingly swift attack wasn't his full strength. Vulture was a little flustered. After all, he really did use his full strength just now. Other than not revealing his special weapon too early, he didn't hold back at all. However, Vulture originally thought that the weapon that could give him an instant victory at the critical moment was an open secret. This completely shattered Vulture's confidence. If he couldn't win by surprise, how could he compete with a guy who could defeat One Eye? Vulture had never won a single confrontation with Wen Xiao. Every time, he was defeated and escaped. There were even a few times where he almost couldn't escape. What could Vulture use to compete with Su Yun now? Yes. He still had a trump card. The 2 hostages in the car were his only life-saving straw. However, when Vulture reacted, Li Guangchen had already sneaked to the side of the white Honda CR-V while Su Yun and Vulture were fighting. He rescued Guagua and Cho Yun from the car. When everyone's eyes were focused on Su Yun and Vulture, Li Guangchen did what he should do at this time. If it wasn't for the ligaments that were easily injured, Li Guangchen might have really become an excellent and qualified Special Forces member. This was because he had good awareness. This awareness was absolutely necessary for every Special Forces member. Vulture's last life-saving straw was destroyed. He was completely out of control. The indescribable sense of defeat made Vulture crazily wave his sharp blade. He completely lost his mind and rushed into the crowd of Special Forces members. If he couldn't get something, he would definitely not let anyone else get it. Today, even if he had to kill Guagua with his own hands, he would not let anyone else get her secrets. Protect the hostages. Li Guangchen angrily ordered, and all the Special Forces immediately raised their explosion-proof shields to block Vulture. The sharp steel blade slashed across the explosion-proof shields, making a hair-raising sound. This crazy guy actually wanted to tear everything apart. Su Yun attacked again. It was easy to deal with people who had lost their minds. After realizing that there was an enemy behind him, Vulture waved his steel blade at Su Yun. However, Su Yun's footwork was exquisite. After dodging Vulture's attack, he heavily elbowed him in the stomach. Vulture felt an unbearable pain that stimulated his stomach. Then, he spat out a mouthful of acidic water. He hadn't eaten anything since he came to Suong. There was nothing to vomit. Su Yun's elbow directly made Vulture unable to stand up. He had hit a vital point in the stomach. Chapter 1798. While Vulture was still struggling to resist, Su Yun had already circled behind him. Without any burden or pressure, Su Yun released all of his strength. Li Guangchen had saved Guagua and Cho Yun, which was equivalent to tearing off the seal on Su Yun's power. The unrestrained Su Yun attacked Vulture crazily. Without any chips in his hands, Vulture could not fight back other than parrying. Soon, the two of them were in a one-sided situation. Although Vulture's sharp blade was a huge threat, he could not unleash the full power of the sharp blade against Su Yun's exquisite footwork. As the saying goes, an inch longer is an inch stronger, and an inch shorter is an inch more dangerous. Although the sharp blades looked like they were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, they were unable to do anything to Su Yun, who was constantly moving around him. His weapon was strong, but he had no advantage if he could not unleash it. Although the sharp blade was powerful, if he could not unleash its full power, what was the difference between it and a pencil sharpener? Obviously, Vulture could not do anything to Su Yun, who was attacking him at close range. Su Yun's exquisite footwork and tricky punches and kicks caused Vulture to be constantly attacked and disrupted. The enraged Vulture waved his sharp blade. The surrounding car windows were shattered, and glass splashed all over the ground. Because the two of them were tangled up, the police could not open fire at all. They could only watch with blank faces as they stood guard around. When Vulture's sharp blade pierced through the door of a Japanese car, it was hooked by something inside the car and could not be retracted in time. Of course, Su Yun would not let go of such a good opportunity. In the blink of an eye, Su Yun directly used his knee to hit the joint of Vulture's arm where he could not pull out the sharp blade. Vulture screamed in pain, and his arm was bent at a terrifying 90 degrees. When Vulture pulled out the sharp blade, his entire left arm had been crippled by Su Yun. The joint was completely broken. It did not matter if you were an ordinary person or an expert, this arm would not listen to the commands of your brain. Vulture's eyes were filled with panic. His broken arm that he could no longer lift was no longer a threat to Su Yun, and it had become a burden to him. Vulture had no choice but to open a mechanism on his left wrist, and the sharp blade fell to the ground. So you are not the real Wolverine, but a knockoff. Su Yun smiled provocatively. Wolverine, the sharp blade grew out of the bone. You installed it yourself, no wonder it has no spiritual energy. It can penetrate a car with steel, but you can't pull it out. Sigh, the product's flaw is a defective product. Is it a defective product? Was it produced by a small workshop in China? Tell me where you bought it, and I will call the Industry and Commerce Bureau to investigate. Su Yun was already in the mood to ridicule Hua Xia's small workshop, but he was obviously very happy. In any case, Guagua and Chou Yun were saved, and Su Yun did not have the most fundamental worry, so he was naturally in a good mood. Vulture had lost his only bargaining chip and the people he needed. In an instant, it was as if the whole world had left him, and that kind of grief affected his rationality. Although one of Vulture's arms was crippled, his attacks on Su Yun became even more frenzied. However, he was powerless to reverse the situation. Su Yun easily neutralized all of Vulture's attacks, and once again sent Vulture flying with a kick. Vulture felt a sharp pain in his chest, and he spat out a mouthful of pus and blood. He had already realized that he was powerless to reverse the situation. A mercenary's intuition was sharp, and Vulture was able to survive so many cruel battlefields, which clearly showed that he was a smart person. After realizing that everything was impossible, Vulture was definitely not stupid enough to fight with his life. The principle of, where there is life, there is hope, was the most basic principle of the battlefield. Now was the furthest he was from Su Yun, and it was also the best and last chance for him to escape the scene. Vulture suddenly feigned an attack, and while Su Yun was preparing to defend, he suddenly changed direction and ran directly to the emergency staircase. Although the staircase had been locked by the people in the shopping mall, for an expert like Vulture, how could a door lock be able to stop him? Of course, it was impossible to stop him. Locking the door was only to prevent the people in the shopping mall from accidentally entering the dangerous scene. It was not used to stop Vulture. Su Yun was obviously very surprised, and he did not expect Vulture to escape so early. He thought that Vulture would be able to hold on for a while longer. Obviously, Su Yun was not the only one who realized the danger of Vulture. Once Vulture entered the shopping mall, the people who had not yet left would become his unlimited hostages. It was too scary. But Vulture's action was too sudden, and it caught everyone off guard. Even Su Yun could not react in time to stop him, and the others could only be shocked. Vulture kicked open the emergency staircase door, and his figure disappeared in a flash. Su Yun followed closely behind and chased after him without hesitation. Li Guangchen was already sweating because of the pain in his abdomen, but in the face of such a situation, he could not choose to do nothing. Wouldn't that be an action? Director Du. I will arrange for someone to send you and the hostages out. It is too dangerous in there. You guys go quickly, and you must protect these 2 hostages. Li Guangchen said, leave the rest to us. Du Yufeng was also nervous. No, Su Yun going there alone is too dangerous. How can I leave at this time? What if the people in the shopping mall are not evacuated? Then you can't go. Your leg is injured. You need to stop the bleeding and remove the bullet as soon as possible, or it will be troublesome if the wound gets infected. Li Guangchen said. In fact, his own injury was also very serious. Vulture's broken ribs made his face look a little twisted. Captain, I think you also... Shut up. Li Guangchen said. He was very clear that Su Yun needed him. He was the only one who could help Su Yun and cooperate with Su Yun. He believed that Su Yun was strong enough to defeat the opponent, but he was worried that the opponent would use the hostages as leverage. This was the most troublesome thing for them. No matter if it was the people from the army or the police, they all had one thing in common. They could not bear to see the people's lives and property being threatened and harmed. Protecting the people's lives and property was their most important duty. Just based on this, Li Guangchen would definitely not leave. Director Du, Su Yun's identity is special. I think you guys know each other. Why didn't you wait for him to show up before making a move? Otherwise, the situation wouldn't be so bad. Du Yufeng also regretted in his heart. He waved his hand and said nothing. He just sighed. Don't say so much. Today, I will not leave until Su Yun leaves safely. Zhang Yuanjun, take your people and protect the two girls. This is the mission you have to defend to the death today. Me? Zhang Yuanjun was stunned. Du Yufeng looked at Guagua and Chou Yun. They will never agree to leave. You just stay here and protect them. Even if all your people die, you must not let anyone touch a hair on their heads. Tough guy. What else could Li Guangchen say? He could only let Du Yufeng go with him and see how much help he could give to Su Yun. Chou Yun and Guagua were completely surrounded by the special police team and the criminal police. Chou Yun's body was too weak. She was so weak that even standing would make her feel weak. She really could not exert any strength. Guagua believed in Su Yun, so she had already taken up the responsibility of taking care of Chou Yun. She asked people to help find water while observing Chou Yun's injuries. At this time, Vulture had already passed through the two-story garage of the mall and rushed directly to the first floor of the mall. At this time, the first floor of the mall was basically empty. Most of the people were very cooperative with the police's evacuation work. Of course, there were always accidents. There would always be a few people who did not have eyes and did not listen to what others said. Even if it was the police talking to them, they would just treat the police as the mall security. Chapter 1799. Tycoon Fatty's imposing manner was definitely not to be underestimated. His weight was definitely enough to kill all the fatties Su Yun had ever seen. When Fatty stood up angrily, he glared at him and said, "I can smash you to death with money. Do you know Star's paper? That's my family's business. Do you know how much my family pays in taxes every year? Who do you think you are? Are you trying to act cool in front of me? Put down my woman. Otherwise, do you believe that I can send someone to beat you to death with just a phone call?" Domineering. Although this nouveau riche fatty was a little unreasonable, he was definitely a man with guts. A man should have this kind of backbone. Maybe this nouveau riche fatty was really manly and he really loved this girl. No matter what, a man who could stand up for a woman was a real man. Unfortunately, this was not a game played by high school students. Whoever was unhappy with someone would call their friends to beat someone up at the door after school. Tycoon Fatty might have never met anyone who dared to be disrespectful to him after he entered society. Therefore, his way of dealing with things was still the way high school students did. After all, a rich person would be supported by all the students when he entered university. The teachers would look up to him, the female students would be more clingy, and the male students would try to curry favor with him. This was the current state of society. Tycoon Fatty's family owned Star's paper. His father's annual taxes were ranked in the top 500 in the country. What kind of concept was this? The concept was that he could really smash someone to death with money. Moreover, he did not even need to exchange coins to smash someone to death. The rich Tycoon Fatty had never been treated like this since he was young. Although everyone was not submissive in front of him, they were at least polite. Today, not only was his fat body sent flying, his beloved woman was also being groped from head to toe. How could he not be anxious? "Fatty, you're anxious so easily? Who is this girl to you?" Vulture sneered and pinched the beauty's chest fiercely. He even let out a rippling moan. "What can you do to me? Even if I ride your woman in front of you today, you can only endure it. Aleph * King kill you." Tycoon Fatty wriggled his fat body and pounced forward. A pile of meat covered the sky as it smashed towards Vulture. Vulture really didn't expect this fatty to be so willful, to actually use his flesh and blood to force himself on. However, Vulture was holding the hostage with one hand and his other hand was injured. There was no way he could defend himself. He could only retreat quickly. However, the jewelry stand behind him blocked his way. Tycoon Fatty's body had already smashed into him, and Vulture did not even have the chance to dodge. With a loud bang, Vulture and the hostage girl in his hands were crushed under Tycoon Fatty's body. The booth behind them was crushed into pieces. It was really not a good feeling to be pressed down with more than 300 kilograms of acceleration. Vulture's stomach acid was about to burst out. But that girl was completely fine. Phew, many things are not so hard to bear once you get used to it. However, Tycoon Fatty was just an ordinary person. The angry Vulture flipped him over and got up to kick him in the stomach. His huge body slid on the ground for more than 10 meters. He knocked over countless bar chairs and only stopped when he hit a bearing pillar of the shopping mall. Vulture really used all his strength in this kick. No matter how thick Tycoon Fatty's fat was, it would not be able to withstand such a kick. Bruises and swelling were considered light. He was afraid that even with such a thick layer of flesh, he would still suffer from internal injuries. Although Tycoon Fatty's internal organs were all twisted together from the kick, his actions had given Su Yun an opportunity to strike. Vulture had already let go of the hostage in his hands. Su Yun also took the opportunity to get behind him. By the time Vulture reacted, it was already too late. Su Yun's knee almost broke Vulture's spine. Vulture staggered a few steps forward. Originally, Su Yun was determined to win. However, the two policemen who had persuaded Tycoon Fatty earlier joined in. One of them rushed forward to subdue Vulture, while the other took out handcuffs to handcuff him. This was an opportunity that had been delivered to his doorstep. How could Vulture not grab it? He first kicked one of them, then grabbed the other by the throat. Once again, a hostage fell into Vulture's hands. Su Yun had no choice but to stop attacking and restrain his strength. Can you be a man? Don't keep using the hostage as a shield. Su Yun said, Vulture, I thought you were a man. Now, it seems like you are just a nameless rat. You know you are going to die, yet you still resist. That's called not knowing how to adapt to the situation. Vulture said, This is your home ground. If I don't think of other ways, how can I leave this place alive? Su Yun, this is the last chance I'm giving you. Do you want to negotiate with me or not? If you don't, then I'll really have to bring a few people with me on the road. At this moment, Li Guangchen also caught up. When he saw that the policeman in Vulture's hands had his face flushed red, he was really helpless. What are your conditions? Su Yun said, Don't hurt the hostage first. Tell me your conditions and we can discuss it. If you hurt the hostage, I'm afraid you won't have the right to negotiate with us. Vulture sneered, You are an understanding person, and I am not a fool. Do you think it is interesting to stall for time like this? I have already mentioned my conditions. Return the car to me and let me leave Suong safely. As long as you agree to this small request of mine, no innocent people will die here. Do you think we will let you go? You have already violated the laws of Huaxia and seriously endangered the safety of society. Li Guangchen said angrily, Let you go? Aren't you too naive? Vulture didn't even look at Li Guangchen. You have no right to talk to me. Whether I am naive or not, Su Yun will have the final say. Yes, now all the pressure was on Su Yun. If he let him go, Su Yun wouldn't be satisfied. However, if he hurt someone, it would be troublesome. Su Yun had to bear the responsibility because he was the one who forced Vulture to this point. He had to solve the current situation. Okay, I promise you. Su Yun seemed to answer casually, but in his heart, he was struggling. Vulture was a mercenary and an old fox. Once he got in the car and left, it would be really difficult to catch him again. However, a life was at stake. Su Yun couldn't gamble with the life of the policeman in Vulture's hands. He couldn't afford to lose. Are you really going to let him? Li Guangchen was unwilling, but when he saw the policeman who was almost dead, he had to lower his head. I will get someone to drive his car outside now. Thank you. Su Yun and Li Guangchen walked back to the underground garage with heavy steps. You are a person who understands the situation, and so am I. Actually, if we can become friends, we can definitely work together to take down the world, Vulture said. Su Yun grinned. Sorry, I am not that ambitious. If I am not wrong, you didn't find Pa Bo Yu, so you can't rule the world. It is just a dream. Don't worry, I will get what I want sooner or later, Vulture said viciously. Su Yun frowned. Unfortunately, I'm afraid this is your only chance. As long as I leave here alive, there are endless possibilities, Vulture said without hesitation. We will definitely meet again in the future. Su Yun suddenly regretted. He couldn't let Vulture leave alive. It was too dangerous for Vulture to know this secret. Even if there was a 1 in a million chance that this secret would spread, he couldn't let it go. If this spread, Su Yun didn't dare to imagine what kind of danger he would face. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.